for some reason, it could not continue as a wing of the Assam Association. So in 2013, it was started as an independent entity. We have now completed 10 years. The title of our today's conference, as we all know, is the Sustainability and the Future of Assam. We have a number of eminent speakers today from different parts of India and elsewhere, but originally from Assam, who would be talking about different important topics on sustainability and the future of Assam. I, on behalf of AFGB, welcome you all. This conference has been organized by the hardworking team of AFGB. I hereby take the opportunity to announce the names of the team who have been working behind the scene. Dr. Jitendralal Borkakoti, the founder chairperson, Emeritus. Dr. Jayanta Vishwa Sharma, founder chairperson, Emeritus. Dr. Tarun Chaudhary and Dr. Apurva Borua are our advisors. The current president chairperson is Dr. Professor Neera Borkakoti. Vice chairperson cum president is Dr. Diganta Bhushan Das. Joint general secretaries are myself and Dr. Salim Barabhuya, and our treasurer is Mr. Nirankush Rik Das. Dr. Monita Borua has newly joined as an active member of AFGB, and today's most important host is Dr. Lipika Deka, who would be handling all the technicalities of this webinar. I request all the speakers to kindly deliver your respective talks within the time limit allocated in the agenda, and be prepared with your slides as well to present. And Dr. Diganta Bhushan Das, in my opinion, is an excellent timekeeper who would be managing the time of today's presentations. So let's start our program with a greetings from the Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma. Over to you, Lipika.
Namaskar. I am immensely happy that Assam Forum of Great Britain is organizing its 10th conference on sustainability and future of Assam on 25th June 2022. I express my heartfelt thanks to entire fraternity of Assam Forum of Great Britain on taking this initiative. Friends, you all know that Assam is blessed with immense potential with multilingual, multi-religious and multi-ethnic society together with abundant resources. In spite of this, the state is confronted with several challenges. Connectivity is one such challenge. You are all aware that Assam has long been the bridge between India and to our east. For centuries, it facilitated the flow of people and ideas not just to Southeast Asia but other parts of the world. However, the partition of India disrupted this seamless connection. It was also magnified by the absence of efforts on our part for many years to build the compensatory connectivity. Fortunately, that has changed since 2014. It is in this backdrop our Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji has launched the Act East policy to make Assam and the Northeast as a springboard for development. This is an approach to create connectivity in Assam, outside it, and with its neighboring ASEAN and BBN countries. In doing so, we created a foundation for a more connected Assam, a more contributing Assam, and obviously a more employed Assam. Now, as our cooperation and connectivity have extended beyond national boundaries, this potential can actually transform our state into a hub that caters to the needs of ASEAN and BBN countries. Insofar as connectivity is concerned, the Dhola Sodia Bridge and the Bogibeel Bridge have revolutionized communication between North and South Bank. Moreover, the ongoing Dhuburi Fulbari Bridge over the Brahmaputra, an under construction bridge connecting Jorhat and Majuli, will add a new momentum to the development narrative of the state. To ease the connectivity between the south and north banks of Brahmaputra, two more bridges are coming up connecting Guwahati, North Guwahati and Polasbari, Sualkusi. On the healthcare side, strengthening healthcare system and improving medical education is being accorded top priority. Dedication of 7 cancer care hospitals out of 10 to the service of the people and laying the foundation stone for another 7 has created a robust platform for cancer care treatment in our state. Moreover, to upgrade medical education and cater to the needs of sufficient doctors, beside the 8 medical colleges that are in operation at this moment, 14 more medical colleges will be set up and start functioning. Development in sync with nature is our priority. So, along with creating an ecosystem for industrialization, we have laid emphasis on creating new forest reserves. Of late, 2 new national parks, namely Dihing Patkai and Raimana, have got officially notified, which will help us to open new opportunities for community-based tourism and focus wildlife management. You all know that Assam is the home to some of the oldest and best tea gardens in the world. Many of these are located in the scenic landscape with rolling hills, which create a perfect blend for enchanting tourist destination. The list is, of course, very long. In this backdrop, our Prime Minister's commitment of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Biswas, and Sabka Prayas has given us an inspiring fillip to move towards a holistic development where everybody can contribute to the growth and development of our state. I appreciate the attempt of Assam Forum of Great Britain in organizing a conference on sustainability and future of Assam, which I am sure will give a new mantra for development. It is also heartening that our own people who are living far away from their homeland are very graciously lending their head and heart to take development of Assam to a new height. I also feel happy to state that links between Assam and Great Britain are historic and deep rooted. It is a matter of great satisfaction that Assamese diaspora living in Great Britain is taking the lead in strengthening our mutual relations further. Moreover, our government is very steadfast in advancing the mutual interest of both Assam and UK with regard to education, tourism, research, and entrepreneurship development. I sincerely hope that in doing so, people of both Assam and Great Britain will reap the benefits of our accelerated ties. I convey my heartfelt greetings and best wishes to Assam Forum of Great Britain for resounding success of the conference. বহুত বহুত ধন্যবাদ.
That was the speech given by our Honorable Chief Minister of Assam. Now, next is the welcome address by our President, Professor Dr. Neera Borkakoti.
Can you hear me? I've unmuted myself.
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I share the screen, please, Lipita?
Yes, please.
Can you?
Yes, if you start the slideshow and then we'll be able to.
Okay, let's. Is this okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, nice to see you all here. Good morning to the participants in the UK and Northern Ireland. And of course, good afternoon to the speakers and listeners in India. Namaskar. Welcome to our conference. This is the 10th conference we're having, and it's a new feature that we have it as a virtual format because introduced courtesy of COVID, which has constrained us to hold this annual conference in this electronic format. Of course, with the global COVID restrictions easing, we are hoping to host a special face-to-face meeting in London next year, where we hope to see many of you here now in electronic format in person in London next year. During its concept, since its inaugural meeting in 2012, the AFGB meetings have been held in various locations across Britain in order to provide a platform for individuals to voice their concerns, suggest solutions, generate discussions, and above all, make the community aware of the issues and problems of our much-loved region in India, Assam. The results of these discussions.
Sorry, we can't see your slides moving. So if you just can.
Okay, yeah, I'm just. Yeah, and this is.
We can
you see? Oh, it's moving now, is it?
Thank you.
So yeah, the current meetings, as you see, is shown in the slide that I'm just showing you. Since 2012, we've had 10 meetings, and we have had various representations to several dignitaries in India, including the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh and Mr. Modi, where petitions were placed about floods and socio-economic problems. I'm delighted with the response to our call to this meeting, that you will appreciate and contribute to the motivation we expect will develop during the presentations from our speakers today. I hope that the next few hours, internet, electronics, and everything else allowing, of course, the presentations from our speakers will stimulate and initiate inspiring considerations that may be accepted in resolutions, which will impact on our common goal of making a constructive contribution towards Assam and its people. With that, I would now request the General Secretary, Dr. Rituparna Bhattacharjee, to direct the scheduled program for today. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoy the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Meera Baido. Our next program is a message from Padma Shri, the Forest Man of India, Mr. Jadav Moilai Payam. We are grateful to his daughter, Mumuni Payam, who is known as the Aranya Quarry, because she helped us to get access to her father and record the video. So over to you, Lipika.
মই ককিলামুখ বৰগুপ অনামুখত জন্ম লাভ কৰি তাত সৰুৰে পৰা দেখা গছ গছনি চৰাই চিৰিকটি জীৱ জন্তুবোৰ দেখি পাবৰ কাৰণে মই সেই ঠাইখন চাই থাকোঁতে এটা সময়ত 1965 চনৰ পৰা 1970 চনৰ ভিতৰত আমাৰ জন্মভূমি আমাৰ ঠাইবিলাক গৰাখহাই লৈ গৈছিল আৰু তেতিয়া মই যোৰহাট জজ কোৰ্টৰ পেছকাৰ অনিল বৰঠাকুৰৰ ঘৰত থাকি ক্লাছ 3 পৰা তৃতীয়মান শ্ৰেণীৰ পৰা পঢ়ি তাত য'ত পঢ়িছিল এজন বিজ্ঞানী আছিল তেখেতৰ নাম ডক্টৰ যদুনাথ বেজবৰুৱা তেখেতে আমাক সৰুৰে পৰা জীৱ জন্তু গছ গছনি আৰু চৰাই চিৰিকটি ভাল পোৱা আৰু গছ পুলি ৰুলেই নহয় গছ পুলি ৰুই প্ৰতিপালন কৰি ডাঙৰ দীঘল কৰা সেই সৰু অৱস্থাৰ পৰা সেই হাতে কামে কৰি দেখুৱাই শিকিছিলোঁ আৰু তেতিয়া মই সেই ফৰেষ্টখন বনাবলৈ আৰম্ভ কৰিলোঁ 79ত প্ৰলয়ংকৰী বানপানী যেতিয়া সেই ঠাইলৈ পুৰণা ঠাইবোৰ খহাই নিয়া ঠাইলৈ গৈ দেখিলোঁ শতাধিক সাপ মৰি আছে সাপ মৰা দেখি অন্তৰত দুখ বেদনা পাই মোক তাত প্ৰথম বুঢ়াসকলে মোক সেই ঠাইতে বাঁহ গছ ৰুবলৈ মোক কৈছিল আৰু তেওঁলোকে 50টা বাঁহ 25টা বাঁহ দি সেই ঠাইতে ৰোপণ কৰি 50টা মাটি কলহ ফুটা কৰি 5 দিনৰ মূৰে মূৰে পানী দি বাঁও লহপহকৈ বাঢ়িছিল আৰু তাত থকা যিবিলাক গছৰ পুলি আহিছিল গুটি আহিছিল সেইবোৰ লহপহকৈ গজালি 50টা মাটি কলহ ফুটা কৰি 5 দিনৰ মূৰে মূৰে পানী দি বাঁও লহপহকৈ বাঢ়িছিল আৰু তাত থকা যিবিলাক গছৰ পুলি আহিছিল গুটি আহিছিল সেইবোৰ লহপহকৈ গজালি হ'ল আৰু গছ পুলি ৰুওঁতে 30 বছৰত অটব্য অৰণ্যত পৰিণত হ'ল, যাৰ বাবে শতাধিক হৰিণ আহিল। হৰিণ অহাৰ লগে লগে ঢেকীয়াপতীয়া বাঘ আহিল, গড় আহিল আৰু হাতী আহিল। আৰু এতিয়া সেই হাবিখনলৈ এতিয়া দেখা পোৱা যায়, মই দেখা পাওঁ যে বিশ্বৰ ভাৰতৰ শতকৰা 80% চৰাই তাতে পায়। আৰু এতিয়া পৃথিৱীৰ মানুহে জৱাহৰলাল নেহৰু ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিয়ে মোক তাত অৰণ্য মানৱ সন্মান দি ফৰেষ্টমেন অফ ইণ্ডিয়া সন্মান দিয়াৰ দিনাৰ পৰা দেশ বিদেশৰ পৰ্যটকৰ আগমন আৰু ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীৰ আগমন এতিয়া দেখিবলৈ পোৱা যায় যে তাত ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকলৰ সেই হাবিখনত অধ্যয়ন কৰি পাওঁ তাত যিমানবোৰ বোটানিকেল বিভাগৰ প্ৰফেচাৰে তেওঁলোকে থিয়ৰিকেল গছৰ নাম জানে কিন্তু গছ চিনি নাপায়। সেইকাৰণে পৃথিৱীৰ সমগ্ৰ বিশ্বৰ ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰীসকলে তাত অধ্যয়ন কৰিবলৈ আহিলে তেওঁলোকক গছ পুলি ৰোৱাই নহয়, গছ পুলি ৰুই প্ৰতিপালন কৰি ডাঙৰ দীঘল কৰা, গছৰ গুণাগুণ গছৰ নাম জনা সেই হাবিতে শিকাই থকা হৈছে। আৰু জলবায়ু পৰিৱৰ্তনৰ কাৰণে এটা প্ৰজেক্ট খুলি লোৱা হৈছে আৰু তাত 12 মাহ অধ্যয়ন কৰি যিটো অভিজ্ঞতা লাভ কৰিব সেই ছাত্ৰ ছাত্ৰী তাত PhD লৈ পেলাই নতুন প্ৰজন্মক নতুন শিক্ষানীতি দি জ্ঞান আহৰণ কৰি পৃথিৱীক ভাল পোৱা এই হাবিখনতে এতিয়া আৰম্ভ হৈছে।
That was the speech given by Jadhav Moilay Payam, the Forest Man of India. Now, in our next agenda, we have a presentation from Srimati Barnali Deka. She is an IAS Deputy Commissioner, Kokrajhar District, Assam. So the title of our presentation is, I think, slightly changed, but what we have is the sustainability and the future of Assam, stories from the field. So over to you. She has actually, her mother has been unwell. So she was in Delhi. So she has sent us a recorded video. So we are going to play that recorded video. Over to you, Lipika, for the playing of the recorded video.
At this annual conference, at the 10th annual conference of AFGB. So I would like to talk about Assam at 2047, the developmental trajectory and the way ahead, and share with you some of the stories from the field, because I'm sure a lot of you would be interested to know about how Assam is faring at the remotest, at the most rural parts of the state. Next slide, please. So this is the broad schematic of the presentation. I feel that if we want to look ahead, if we want to imagine Assam at 2047, we also have to rewind 30 years and see what Assam was maybe in right from the 70s onwards to about the 2020s. What is in store currently? Can we usher in digital data-driven governance? Is that the future? Is that how we bring in development? Is that how we bring in sustainability? Certain stories from the field that I would definitely like to share about, which augurs about the trajectory ahead. How do we bring in sustainability? How do we bring in transformation? And so on, certain open questions. And I would end with some long-term challenges for Assam at 2047. Pause and rewind. So to imagine the next 30 years, we definitely have to rewind the last 50 years. Sri Vivek Debroy, in his foreword in Srinivas Sir's book, Towards a New India, had said that, and I'm sure a number of us can relate to this, that in 1991, if people had to predict what India would be like in 2019, except for some broad trends, they would have gone hopelessly wrong. And so what are some of these aggregate trends that have come out correctly. Perhaps that could give us some insight into how do we plan for the future. Some of the broad trends of the 90s that have survived and that have, so to say, belied the naysayers would be, one is inception of e-governance right from the 1970s, the Dantwala Committee report, and a number of other policy initiatives were slated at inculcation of the data analytic capabilities at the district and the block levels, and this has survived. There has been increasing shifts in governance. Those of us that have interacted, that have had any kind of any transactional interactions with the government of India and the government of Assam would have realized that there has been a shift from paper-based processes to digital. In terms of policy, perhaps one of the biggest shifts has been the understanding that there is an inter-regional basis for inequality, which is the basis of the BRGF and many other similarly structured schemes. And of course, for me personally, for us as administrators, the greatest impact has been from the reforms of the 1990s that has progressively changed the role of district administration. What is there in Assam in the 2020s? All of us are surely proud Assamese, those of us here. All of us are surely proud about the growth, the development of Assam in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, infrastructure, and so on, that we have been able to make in the, in the past, say the past couple of decades. Many of us who have been, fortunate enough to visit the rural areas, maybe an ancestral home and so on, would also, if you really see the structural pattern of service delivery, you would see that there has been a saturation of many basic services. Healthcare is available, free schooling for all. We have CSCs which provide the myriad of e-governance services at our fingertips. And of course, in the broader terms, in terms of the country as a whole, we have initiatives like PM Gati Shakti, we have Swamitva, we have the opening up of land mapping of data parcels, the National Digital Health Mission, and so on. Also taking advanced analytics and technology-based solutions to the grassroots. This has been happening in Assam. And something else that I would like to talk about is in terms of digitalized matrix in government service delivery. This is the aspirational district program. And in Assam, I have been fortunate enough to work in two such aspirational districts, Barpeta and Gwalpara. We have 7 of them in Assam. And I have seen the kind of service delivery that this digitalization of matrix has brought about in terms of the Indian aspirational district program. Next slide, please. When I talk about digital data-driven governance, this is broadly what I would like to talk about. Can we have key performance indicators as we have in the private sector, as we have in the corporate sector? Do you think it is, what is your opinion? Do you think it is too, too perfect a concept to have key performance indicators in governmental sectors and governmental services? So this is the answer. Yes, we have been using key performance indicators in a number of districts of Assam and in a number of verticals like health, like education, and broadly a number of districts in Assam are following these kind of structures. We have KPIs in each sector, reporting and data measurement, data analysis, we identify concern areas. And I would briefly, for a couple of minutes, like to talk about my experience as a district collector in 2 districts, Kokrajhar. The last time I was here, I had spoken about the Gwalpara experiences in terms of disaster and development. And this time I would like to talk about Kokrajhar and certain of the Gwalpara experiences. So in both the cases, what we have done is that we have followed a 2-pronged approach. In terms of systemic improvements, focusing on the low-hanging fruits, a district-wide transformation roadmap, which has seen the convergence of the inputs of various departments. Also, be in terms of certain big bang innovations, trying to solve problems through these interventions and innovations, which are scalable, replicable, which are holistic, and so on. And all of these have helped improve in the key performance indicators of these sectors. Those of you who are interested in this model could probably look into the aspirational districts program. You can check it out. If you Google Champions of Change, you can see the portal, you can see the dashboard that we are using for improving our performances in various sectors. Next slide, please. Just briefly, some of the initiatives that we have been taking up in Gwalpara and in Kokrajhar, because when we talk about the future of Assam, when we talk about sustainability, it has to start from the grassroots. It has to start from the basic unit of the block and the district. So this is Kokrajhar. Kokrajhar has an area of 3169 square kilometers. The projected population is about 9 lakhs. Those of us familiar with the map of Assam would know that this is the entry point to Assam from the Chicken's Neck. District has had a deep-seated history of insurgency and violence. It is a declared disturbed area. District is disaster prone, and so on. So I would just like to highlight 2-3 of the initiatives. See, the whole idea of putting this out here is, to show all of the persons attending here today, the kind of work that is going on in Assam, right at the grassroots. So I will talk about one initiative that has been very, it has seen the joint participation of various departments and officers of the district. If you look at the portion parameters, the nutritional parameters of Kokrajhar, the stunting, in terms of stunting of children, there was actually a deterioration from 30.6% to 34%. In terms of wasting, it had grown from 15% to 20%. MMR of Kokrajhar is 325, which is a huge figure. Per lakh live births, we have been losing 325 numbers of mothers. So the intervention that we did was in terms of analysis of the ground scenario. We did a lot of brainstorming, a lot of discussions, and we came out with a 6-point intervention. Next slide, please. The first was portion clubs. When I first joined the district, I saw that there was a certain apathy or lack of awareness in the community towards nutritional targets. At the same time, there is a need to nurture our children into the next generation. The broader theme of today's conference is sustainability. How can we have sustainable Assam if we do not have a generation that is aware of sustainability goals? So with an idea of having children as key leaders and as drivers of societal, attitudinal and behavioral changes, we launched portion clubs in all the 1,611 schools of Kokrajhar. And the results were phenomenal. These clubs have been conducting nutritional outreach programs in all the villages of the district, plantation drives, Swachhata drives, sessions on menstrual hygiene for adolescent girls. And these clubs have also activated the Bal Sabhas and the Bal Sansats. And with this, there has been an outreach to almost 1.5 lakh enrolled children. So, in terms of reach, this quick initiative could reach out, it could cap out to the broader network of the community in Kokrajhar. And the initiative was launched by the Honorable Chief of PTR, Shri Pramod Boro sir. This initiative is a massive exercise of convergence. For instance, when a girl child is born, the local NHM unit notifies the cluster coordinator, who ensures that these children go to the girl child's home and they do plantation of fruit bearing trees. We try to present the best performing club every month. Next slide, please. The second intervention has been in terms of, giving back to society. A number of us have this urge in us, particularly the current generation. I've seen that they have this urge to give back to society. So to promote this, we had taken up this initiative. Jothon means care. We reached out to our government servants. We told them that why do you not take up ownership, take up guardianship of a child that is malnourished? And many of these government servants came forward. We mapped the volunteering official to the nearest SAM MAM child. SAM means severely, acutely malnourished, and MAM means moderate, acute malnourishment. We mapped these children, and the results were phenomenal. Within 2 months, we could see a significant decrease in terms of SAM and MAM children. And a number of them have, decided to take up a lifelong relationship for guardianship of the child, for hand-holding of the family. The third initiative was Smart Papa campaign. Irrespective of geography, what we have generally come across is that fathers do not take as much of a responsibility of the child's well-being, nutrition, of his future as the mother. And this is definitely so in the rural parts of our district. So we launched the Smart Papa initiative to orient the fathers to take up responsibility, holistic responsibility of the nutrition, of the well-being of the child. We made a number of activities mandatory, like the father should attend the parent-teacher meetings. Generally, we see that it is only the mother that attends. Father and daughter can jointly put up food stalls in the school premises, the father getting the children ready for school and so on. And we've done about 300 community events and sensitized a number of such fathers. Unaini Narsan means Sneha Sparsha. Generally, what we have seen is that the nutrition of the child is linked to the education of the mother. So if the mother is 12 past, the child is likelier to have a broader spectrum of nutritive inputs. So we started reaching out directly to the mother, and just as Smart Papa reaches out to the father, Unaini Narsan reaches out to the mother. We started conducting in situ camps, teach the mothers how to cook nutritional food that is also appealing to the child. Generally, in today's Assam, it is not merely the lack of resources or the lack of income. In a number of cases, children from reasonably okay families in terms of income become malnourished. So we teach the mother, we teach them menstrual hygiene, the breastfeeding practices, how, the nutrition of the child in terms of diversity of nutritive outputs. The last two are Poshan Vatikas and convergence with our one district, one product, ODOP, that is mushroom. Poshan Vatikas are basically nutri gardens that are set up in all of the schools and Anganwadis. So we've been trying to set up these nutri gardens in all of these schools and Anganwadis. Our ODOP, one district, one product, is mushroom. And we have tried to develop a long shelf life range of products that is good for the child, because what is generally seen is that mushroom is a superfood. It is rich in terms of all nutrients and micronutrients. So we've started developing mushroom powder, mushroom biscuits, mushroom chocolate, mushroom rasgullas, which in a very delicious form with a longer shelf life give these supplements to the child. So we are trying to promote schools to take up mushroom as a supplement with their midday meal. And these are some of the cumulative outcomes. Again, I've already talked about our ODOP, that is mushroom. So these are some of the initiatives that we've taken up. I could reach out to any of you, any of you that would like to know more. I'm there to talk, but I think right now our time is limited. So I'm going to skip these slides. This just talks about how the Kukrachar mushroom story has developed, how there has been, very dedicated inputs from various resource points. In particular, I would like to mention the biotech department, Professor Sandeep of the Boroland University, how these dedicated efforts have led to growth of mushroom, and how we are trying to make mushroom the basis for self-reliance for various households, for various, through the SSGs of the Rural Livelihood Mission, how we are trying to link it up to various government schemes and programs, how we are trying to link mushroom to better nutritive outcomes, particularly of the next generation. So the next few slides we could probably rush through, and the complementarity of life cycle. We are also in Assam, if you generally see je Ohomia manhubur, lahe lahe kania, these kind of things. And when I go to states outside of Assam, I see that people do multiple cropping, but in Assam they are just happy with one. So we are trying to promote multi-cropping through mushroom. There are two kinds of mushrooms, one that that is very fruitful in the winter months and one in the summers. So this is something that the Boroland University is trying to develop. The cordyceps military story, some of the takeaways. So I would like to go straight on to the slide on water management, some of the initiatives for water sustainability. This is, these are all a myriad of initiatives, but the whole point of putting this into this brief presentation is just to make you aware of the kind of work that is being done by the government, that is being done by administrations across the state of Assam. About Gwalpara, I had shared, I think it was in 2020 that I had spoken last. So some of the initiatives of Gwalpara, green technologies in road construction, if you look at the statistics from 2000 to 2018, we had constructed only about 534 kilometers, but with use of green technology, in just 2 years, we could, construct about 530 kilometers of road length. Gwalmart is a G2C portal that we have developed in-house, PMJJBY coverage, technological interventions. Also, I would like to go straight on to the slide, on to the third last slide, digital technologies in service of decentralized governance. So having shared some of these stories of development at the district level, what I would like to talk about is how can digitalization help? Because this is something that we've seen paying dividends for us right at the grassroots. So in terms of digital technologies, what is the next frontier of saturation? For the districts, the aspirational district program has led to great developments. Can we go now to the block levels? Since in today's audience, we have people from diverse backgrounds, academia, I'm sure we have people from the corporate sector. So what are some of the areas that we can think of, possible areas of joint intervention, so that the Assam story grows by leaps and bounds, and Assam at 100 years, Assam at 2047 is one of the most developed states of the country? Can we, say for instance, one is that our reporting systems are, our digital systems are still reporting based rather than transactional. Can we shift from reporting based systems to transactional? Could we perhaps have computer vision algorithms for parsing ASHA worker records? ASHA are the health workers of the state. So what they generally do is that they handwrite their entries, and then there is a significant data entry burden on them. So could we have parsing algorithms, computer vision algorithms? In terms of nutrition, could we have mobile-based apps for growth monitoring? Our SHG network, the self-help group network, is a huge network across the state. Could we have collaboration with SHGs, with farmer producer organizations that collaborate with startups? That could, can you imagine the kind of spillover this could all lead to? Could we have open technology platforms for OJL, OJT? Post-COVID, there is need for developing capacity at a mega scale. So could we have open technology platforms for these? What are some other possible areas of intervention? Because I'm reaching out to some of the most brilliant minds of the Assamese diaspora. So could we think of perhaps stimulating our rural economy? The government has already opened up the data sets powering the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. Can we use these? Can we have creative partnerships amongst academia, entrepreneurs, public administration, developing new livelihood generation initiatives in terms of edutech in the rural areas of Assam, even in the urban areas? Could we develop technology that accurately predicts dropout? Could we have open platform learning? Because with changes in technology, as we gear ahead to Assam at 2047, we also need a workforce that is aware of what is happening. So could we have edtech open learning initiatives? Could we have open technology platforms for our government servants? I would end with the last slide, looking forward Assam at 2047. And this is again a shift. If you look at the narrative, this is again a shift in the narrative. But, you know, I wanted to end with this because in terms of sustainability, which is the broader topic of today's webinar or today's session, in terms of sustainability, what we are seeing in the district as a district magistrate, as a deputy commissioner, is that India has been facing, Assam has been facing major anthropogenic climate changes. So could we have technologies that can, see, today technology for weather prediction at a micro level is generally good, but can we have more localized, at the macro level, technology is very good, but can we have more localized, more micro climatic predictions, especially in terms of flood and drought prone areas? If we are to reach net zero at 2047, what is the transition required? What is the workforce transition required? So I would like to end my presentation with some of these broad questions on the future of Assam, the future of sustainability in Assam, the future of digitalization in Assam. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you to Srimati Barnali Deka for her flamboyant presentation, but we are extremely sorry. We couldn't show the slides because this is a recorded video and the slides would not go, we couldn't coordinate the slides and her talk. So we are extremely sorry. Maybe at a later point, we can show the slides. Will it be possible, Lipika?
Yes, it will. Or we can always share it with the participants.
Okay. Or we can we can actually send it through email. Yeah, we can do it. So let us now go to the next presentation. It's Evolution of Technical Education and its Sustainability in Assam by Professor Gautam Borua, who is a director at IIT, Guwahati, Assam.
Should I share my slides, Deepika? You're muted.
Yes, please, sir. If you can share your slide. Or if you want me to, you can.
No, let me share because, you know, last minute changes have been there.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Is it visible?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, hello, I'm Gautam Borua. As I mentioned, I'm the director of IIT Guwahati. I'm a computer science person. I was at IIT Guwahati before, right from the beginning of when IIT Guwahati started. And I'm reaching the end of my academic career in this IIT. Right, so when we start, you know, in 1990, there were only 3 engineering colleges in Assam. Assam Engineering College, Johar Engineering College, and Regional Engineering College, Silchar. And that has been the situation most of 80s, 70s. I think REC Silchar started in the 70s. But after that, things have taken. Expansion has happened quite a bit, particularly in the last few years. So today, situation is like this. As far as engineering colleges are concerned, there are central institutions, IIT Guwahati, who started in 1995, NIT Silchar, which is the regional engineering college, got transferred to a National Institute of Technology in 2003. Triple IT Guwahati, which started in 2013, Tezpur University, 1995, Assam University, 1995. Now, these two universities are included here because they have their schools of technology also, and they have engineering programs in these schools of technology, all three of them. And currently there are 7 engineering colleges, AEC, JEC, Johar Institute of Science and Technology, which earlier Johar Institute of Johar Science College, I think, it was renamed as this. And recently 4 more have come up, Barak Valley Engineering College, Vineswar Brahma Engineering College, Gulaghat Engineering College, and Dhemaji Engineering College. So there are 7 of them. For some time there have been 3. The first top 2 and GIST. And 6 more are under construction. So there are going to be 13 state engineering colleges in a few years' time. And right now we have got a total of 20, sorry, if you include those 6, a total of 20 institutions. As the Chief Minister mentioned in his talk, there has been a lot of expansion in medical education. And along with that medical education expansion, there has been a concomitant expansion in technical education also. Besides this, there are the private sector started coming into the picture in the late 90s, again about 97, 98 onwards. But it hasn't grown to the extent one would have expected. Most of them started late 90s, in the last century or the beginning of this century. So we have Bijananda Chaudhary Institute of Management and Technology in Tezpur and Guwahati, two institutes. Scholars Institute, Guwahati, NETS Institute of Technology and Science, Mirza, has been scratched off because it has closed down. Don Bosco College of Engineering and Technology, Royal School of Engineering and Technology, part of Royal Global University, Assam Downtown University, which has got a BTech program, and the School of Engineering and Technology, Kaziranga University. So this is the overall picture of the technical institutions which are giving out degrees. All of them are giving so-called BTech or BE degrees. Many of them are also have started master's programs, that is MTech degrees. Not the new ones, but at least these private sector ones and for the central institutions. And the central institutions, of course, also have PhD program. The second leg of this is the polytechnics. So there's been a huge increase in the number of polytechnics. There are 26 of them now. Earlier, those of you who've been here earlier would have remembered, Assam Engineering Institute, Girls Polytechnic Guwahati, Prince of Wales Jorhat, and what else? Maybe that's it, I think, Yeah, I think the rest of it is all Silchar Polytechnic. So these were the one, maybe Nagaon Polytechnic also was early. But now there are so many of them. They are in Silchar, Nagaon, Jorhat, Dibrugarh, Gulaghat, Dikhu, Nalbari, Gwalpara, Kamrup, somewhere in the Kamrup district, I forget where, I think Rania, Baksa, Punitpur, Lakhimpur, Dhemaji, Sitagarh, Gulaghat, Koimganj, Tinsukia, Moigaon, Udalguri, practically all, most of the districts, Hailakandi and Siam. And there are 3 more coming up at Haju, Majuli, and Tingthong. In fact, I was recently passing by Tingthong. I saw the polytechnic almost ready, and it has these polytechnics are easier to set up in the sense that the infrastructure requirements are less. So their rapid increase has taken place. All of this in the last 5 or 6 years. Now, come to the engineering institutions. What are the issues there? What's happening? Is it a good thing? Or do we have enough? Do we need more? Well, there are challenges. There's a problem of placement. Entire engineering education, as you know, in the country is in a little bit of a crisis. There are too many engineering colleges that opened in the 1990s and 2000s, and there are many of them have closed down. Many of the seats are lying vacant. So there is a crisis, and there is a problem of placement, lack of, and for the institutions in India, in Assam, there is a lack of job opportunities in Assam. Outside, they have to compete with so many other institutions. I was recently in Bangalore. Bangalore has 65 engineering colleges, one city. We are talking about 20 after 6 more are built. So that's the scale of things. The other issue of placement is that most of the jobs are IT centric, and the engineering colleges set up more, not only IT related areas, but core areas like civil, mechanical, chemical. The job market in those are limited currently. Of course, we hope that with the government changing its policies with so-called Atmanirbhar Bharat, there will be more such opportunities. And of course, there is shortage of faculty, especially in the so-called hot areas. Today, as you know, the entire computer science has been taken over by ML, machine learning, and AI. Not only that, ML and AI have become tools for all areas of engineering, all areas of medical, all areas of business. It's just taken over. Basically, use ML and AI library of routines to help you solve problems that are difficult to solve using traditional methods. So teaching students about this, we need people who know all about this, and there is a shortage. There is also a peculiar thing happening in slump in the electronics job market. Earlier, IT meant computer science and electronics. But there is a slump in the electronics job market lately. Again, hopefully, with the government's push for bringing in hardware facilities into the country, inviting fabs to set up factories in India, things will change. Maybe it'll take a few years, but then, of course, availability of faculty, shortage of faculty, not area, but general availability of faculty in the new government colleges, which are in remote places. So even though we may have master's degree holders, which typically are is the minimum requirement for a faculty, they don't want to go to say Dhemaji. If you are from, they have done their masters from Guwahati or Jorhat. They're not interested in going to Dhemaji or Golaghat or wherever. So that's the issue. And therefore, I feel that expansion is enough. We should not expand more till industry demand is there in Assam for these graduates. Because if there is no industry, the demand is not there, there will be placement problems. So that will make the situation worse actually. But there are some other issues. I have been trying to get this second last point through to whatever methods I could, is one of autonomy. So the autonomy is a major issue. The central institutions, I mentioned IIT, Triple IT, NIT, universities, they have autonomy. They have a board or a board of management or board of governors or executive council who have rights, who have powers to take decisions on the funding, on the expenditure, and so on. And also, of course, the academic curriculum, etc. However, in the state government colleges, the autonomy situation is, let me put it bluntly, pathetic. Okay. Recently, we had an interview of the principals, one of the, or rather the only applicant we asked him, is the acting principal of Dhemaji. So how do you manage? He says, I have only 10,000 rupees sanctioning power, rupees. Any expenditure more than 10,000 rupees, the file has to go to Department of Technical Education in Guwahati, and they will have to approve it, and then it will come back, and then we can do the purchase if it is approved. So this kind of a situation creates a lot of difficulties. Not only is there a delay, the staff and the faculty do not, I know fairly quickly that they don't need to listen to the principal because the principal has no power. So his authority gets undermined, and I've been fighting very hard to get this thing uh, relaxed. And I think those of us here who have been ex-bureaucrats, I think you need to help. I suspect it is not the political system that is at fault here, it's the bureaucracy which does not want to let go of its power. Okay. The related small point is about, we talk about faculty availability, the principal availability. Now, unfortunately, what has happened is, again, the government came up with the thing that the principal's requirements would be as per AICT. Fine. Now, the AICT requirements are such that they have a research component, that so many publications are required, so many PhD students must have been guided, so many years of experience. Now, who are the people who are going to, and then the principal has to be a resident of Assam. They cannot come from outside. Now, there are no people like that. Okay? I mean, you can't expect someone from an IIT or a central university to become a principal of a college. The pay is just not good enough. So we have, right now, out of 7 government colleges, 6 positions are vacant. I am a member of a selection committee, which is through the, I think it's called the Engineering Services Selection. We advertised, and only one candidate was found eligible, and we interviewed him, and of course we had no choice but to select him. Okay, so after that, once the government approved this selection, there are going to be 5 of the 7 engineering colleges will have no permanent principal. So these are small issues of governance that clearly need some, some intervention. Now, as far as the academics is concerned, the engineering institutions are all affiliated to a central university called ASTU, Assam State Science and Technology University. So just like this thing started in the 90s and 80s in other states, so one technical university under which all the engineering colleges get affiliated. So that part is working fine, and the common exams are held under ASTU. Admissions are also through a joint entrance exam, but they don't have any financial or administrative power, and that is for, especially for the government colleges, but directly with the director of technical education. So these are some of the challenges that have to, it's staring at us in our face, but nobody is able to do anything about it. As far as the politics are concerned, things are a little better because there are big PSUs which need manpower. They're growing. The Brahmaputra Capital, polymers, Oil India, Indian Oil, ONGC, big PSUs, Numanigar, Assam Petrochemicals, Assam government making methanol and formaldehyde. There are
Sir
private.
Borua,
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
Professor Borua, would you be okay for one more minute?
Yes. And just last.
Thank you.
The politics is fulfilling the need of skilling the workforce. So they were required actually. However, the number may be enough also for now. So overview, I've just said too many things maybe. So there is a politics of establishment of institutes. It gives a boost to the local economy. The local MLA loves it, whether it's a polytechnic or an engineering institute. But then rapid expansion results in suffering of quality. Frustration in not finding employment may create resentment. Of course, availability of manpower. We have more colleges, we have more available manpower, may help investment, it's chicken and egg issue. Research is something which is only being carried out mainly in the central institutions and in the university technical schools. This is a weak point. We have so many institutions, but research is not there in the others, most of them. I mean, AAC and JAC do have something. There has been a big expansion in technical education in the state, as you can see from my slides. The challenge will be to consolidate and sustain it. And some of the challenges I have pointed out. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gautam Borua, sir, for your presentation. So let us now move to the next presentation, which is Center of Renewable Resources and Sustainable Process, Bio-based Technology by Professor Anand Datta. But Professor Datta has been having some dental problem, I think. So the presentation would be, the deliberation would be made by Dr. Parikshit Gogoi. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Correct.
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
I?
So can I kindly request Mr. Gogoi to share your slides and go ahead with the presentation.
Thank
So
you.
I just Rituparna, I just want to remind all speakers we'll take some questions. So we are not taking questions now, but we'll take some questions later on during the panel discussion.
Oh, yes. Sorry,
Yes.
I forgot to mention
So,
about that. Yeah, I'm
thank you.
extremely sorry about that. So there will be a panel discussion. So the the questions which you all have as listeners, please have it on your means with
We
you
will.
now, and we can discuss it in the panel discussion, which would be conducted by Dr. Diganta Bhushan Das.
Thank you.
So over to you, Dr. Gogoi.
Let me share the screen first.
Yes.
So, Dr. Gogoi, you have got 15 minutes.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So am I audible and my slides are visible, I guess?
Yes, your slides are visible and you're audible too.
Okay, so good afternoon to all. So today I am going to present on behalf of Professor Anand Datta. He is a retired scientist of CSR NIST Zurhat and former professor of IIT Guwahati, and Professor Zuet Madhya Pradesh Guna. And I am Dr. Parikshit Gogoi, presently working as an assistant professor of chemistry in the Department of Chemistry in Nagaon College Autonomous. So it is the Northeast Center for Renewable Resources and Sustainable Process Technology, that is bio-based technology, that to be established in IIT Guwahati. So, first we can see the concept of sustainability, as you know, that the ability of a specified system to survive and function over a specified time. There may be a difference in opinions regarding the relevance of this sustainability, but sustainability, as you know, is a global issue and needs to be addressed within the purview of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And earlier in United Nations World Summit in 1992, they have mentioned 3 pillars like economic development, social development, and environmental protection, people and culture. So that will be subsequently they have made in different times, and they develop different sets, different sustainable development goals. So here actually we have exciting endeavors for the center proposed to be established at IIT Guwahati. So there is a team working on that in the Department of Chemical Engineering. And as you know, that Guwahati is the gateway to the northeastern region, and will be benefited from the proposed center if we succeed in our venture to receive grants from donor ministry or partial funding from state government. So I would like to give a brief account of our understanding and highlights our initiatives on sustainable development goals that is actually already been followed by government of India in different programs. So we realize that the development of a region is limited process or has a limit to grow based on the availability of natural resources, which must be conserved in order to meet needs and comfort of human population and industrial and economic centers. So the common features like demands sustainability, which can meet the needs of the present scenario without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Actually, green accounting, a prevalent concept of both developed and developing countries, provides us an economic interpretation of both resource based and environmental quality converted to monetary terms. So these are some of the initiatives from the government of India. They are taking care of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantees, National Rural Urban Livelihood Mission, and so on. So actually we can visualize from the Niti Aayog means reports from different times to time. So as you know that biodiversity is that northeastern region is a biodiversity hotspot. With abundant natural resources from which can be exploited from for bio-based industries. So actually the origin of and the background of this concept has been developed in 2019 when a conference was organized by us too, and with the active supervision of Professor N.M. Dutta, that then means different members from IIT Guwahati and IIT Delhi and ICT Mumbai Professor V.G. Gaikar, and then Honorable Vice Chancellor of Tezpur University, they met and they believe that for emphasize the need for an establishment of a Northeast Center here. So that on biodiversity, if you look at the biodiversity in Northeastern region, we have lots more resources, as you know, that forest resources, water resources, mineral resources, food resources, energy resources, and land resources. So based on that, actually, that the focus of the center will be on the bioeconomy and to the US 2015 Sustainable Development Goals, and harnessing the preserving any biodiversity for bioeconomy applications. So the center will lead regional effects in cooperation with industries to develop and implement innovative market-driven bio-based process technologies for producing chemicals and fuels from renewable resources as well as waste materials. So actually, the proposed any center is planned for development of bio-based industries for production, transportation, transformation, and uses of bio-based materials and products using bioresources by exploiting and conserving as well as the biodiversity, which is almost recognized as the foundation of sustainable development. So the effective valorization of the renewable resources and maybe conceptualized as bioeconomy, that more or less, that more precisely it is defined as the knowledge of production and use of natural biological resources together with biological processes and laws and allows economy goods and service in environmental friendly way. So the flagship project actually the project we actually designed within 6 frameworks. We said that flagship project 1, that innovative plant biotechnology, and the metabolic engineering, then and the the flagship project 3 under which it will come innovative catalyst and catalysis. Number 4 is leading edge polymers, and then the advanced research and technology platform, and number 6 is water management and risk analysis. So actually development of this process technology for bio-based industry and its implementation involves interdisciplinary means efforts of biologists like chemists and bioprocess chemical engineers as well as policymakers. So accordingly, this flagship project, if you looked at individually, that in flagship project 1, actually that bioresources for bio-based industries will provide the feedstock supply of which should be sustainable. That this project will needs to inputs exclusively from plant scientists of various sub-disciplines, like we have in our region Assam Agricultural University, Guwahati University, Dibrugarh University, Tezpur University, and CSR NIST, and NEHU, along with the main leading institute IIT Guwahati in the border states of in the heart of the means Guwahati. So that is well capable of pursue the R&D works in technological perspectives. Actually, the innovative plant biotechnology, the outcome of this project will be beneficial for the flagship project 2, which aims to maximize means metabolic engineering, that is maximize capacity of plants and microorganisms for chemical synthesis in expanding the production and use of bioproducts. So the process will be the genomic analysis data and the synthetic biology, genome engineering and data science, and develop a strategy to artificially maximize the capacity of plants and microorganisms for chemical synthesis in developing and configuring a sustainable production system. So, if you looked at the flagship project 3, this time skipping some of the slides, so that is like innovative catalysis. So, as you know, that the development of any process technology, that will be beneficial if you develop some kind of catalyst. So here in this concept, actually, we are looking for the biorefinery platforms for chemicals and fuels for biomass and waste, that is food waste materials, high value added chemicals from carbon dioxide, high performance polymer materials by selective copolymerization of commodity monomers of different properties. And number 4, the interfacial polymerization of organocatalysis, heat resistant high tensile polymers containing furan with the ring of the solid catalyst for low environmental load. And number 6 is very important, that lignin oxidation part to produce some kinds of chemicals and fuels. Actually, in this region, that recently Numaligarh refinery, they installed that biorefinery plant, and they are going to produce ethanol from bamboo. So these are very important aspect, by using the bioresources of northeastern region, and since lots more available woody material and lignocellulosic materials are available in this region, so definitely, if we install this kind of centers for the development of the technologies, that will be beneficial. So if you looked at the breakdown on motivation of biomass conversion, that if you actually, one very nice paper published in 2014 by a professor from University of Tennessee, and that is Professor Art Robuscus. He clearly mentioned that what will be the future of the non-renewable fossil fuels, and what will be the scope of using lignocellulosic biomass to produce different kinds of fuels and chemicals from waste materials. So that if you looked at the total bioethanol producing countries, in USA, it is this 57% of the total ethanol production they are producing, and Brazil, they are producing actually 27%, and European countries total 6% they are bioethanol producing, and China is 3% they are producing, and the rest of the countries is producing only 5% of the bioethanol to the emission to resist the emission of or greenhouse gases. So actually, as a part of our work, actually during my visit to United States in Georgia Institute of Technology, we carried out some kind of work for development of catalyst, and we are producing bioethanol from hard and softwood. That is that really I can contribute also this part to this center, and if you looked at the lignin chemistry, it will have lots more potential to produce different chemicals which are used in different industries. So, and flagship project 4 that means we are included the leading edge polymers. So as you know that the first polymer for societal benefit was not made from the hydrocarbons of renewable resources. So after the third industrial revolution started with the coal and petroleum as feedstock for chemicals and petrochemicals and power generations, and synthetic polymer become available for diverse application, leading to the so-called stages of the plastic polymer age. So we know that about the natural polymers that are from rubber or trees in some parts of the world. So like cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, that is the main components of the lignocellulosic biomass, are the main constituent of biomass for certain sources and example of natural capital. So these can be feedstock for several biomaterials and useful chemicals like vanillin from lignin. So now new trends is use of the microbes or biosynthesis of the polymers. For future, we have adequate human resources of this region, so with expertise and capabilities. So interdisciplinary approaches which includes from polymer chemists, microbiologists, and bioprocess engineers will be adopted for successful development of technology. So like if you looked at the fifth advanced like flagship program that we need to include it.
Last minute, Dr. Gogoi.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so advanced research technology platform that we are like aiming to develop and appropriate scale bio-based process technologies and information platform and technologies have in Northeast India. So two categories of technology with feedstock value chain like fuels and chemicals from biomaterials from biomass and industrial waste. So and then next will be the plant natural products. So like, so I'm just keeping some of the slides. So we actually plan to take initial R&D programs for biomass-based, then biomass to fuels and convert chemicals, and then plant-based, plant natural products extraction and purification and their stabilization. And feedstocks will be the lignocellulosic biomass and natural aromatic plants. And R&D emphasis will be the development of value chain and through market-driven innovations. So thank you. And for suggestions, you may send the mail to Professor Anandotto. His mail ID is anandotto@rediffmail.com. Thank you. And from us, actually, I express my deep sense of gratitude to Assam Forum of Great Britain for giving us an opportunity to associate with this active forum constituted by quite good numbers of knowledgeable Assamese persons settled eventually in Great Britain, but the whole and but with the love and affection to the Assam spiritually. So we are quite optimistic about the proposed any center establishment of which at IITZ is an exciting endeavor. So we solicit support from the Assam Forum of Great Britain for our venture on any center in all possible ways. Thank you. It's over.
Thank you, Dr. Gogoi, for a very nice presentation. And definitely, we will do whatever we can. We have actually many technical persons in our team. For example, Diganto and Lipika are two of them. So definitely. So and anybody who has questions on this presentation, please take part in the panel discussion. So now we move to the next presentation. We have been hearing from the above speakers about quantitative development of medical education and colleges from the previous speakers. Now, what Dr. Pranjal Deka would be speaking about organ transplants in Assam, current status and the way forward. He works at Downtown Hospital, Guwahati, Assam. So over to you, Dr. Pranjal Deka. Please share your presentation and start your presentation.
So good afternoon to all of you. It's a late afternoon here. I'm in the middle of my practice, and hopefully I'll be able to do justice to the topic which has been allotted to me. So I'll be sharing my screen, if you allow.
Yes, please do go ahead.
Yeah, so is everything visible?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I work here at Downtown Hospital, Guwahati, and I have been trained at different centers in India. I have also been trained in through the liver transplantation unit of the European Board of Surgery, and that's my background here. And so this would be the theme of my presentation. I'll just give you a brief background regarding organ transplants, especially focusing on liver transplants. We quantify the demand, the current status here in Assam, the resources available, and what challenges we are facing, and how do we move ahead with this. So the theme of this conference was sustainability, and I'm dealing with something which is yet to take off in a grand way. So the issue of sustainability doesn't come right now, and it would be more focused on the way ahead. So what are we talking about when we talk about transplants? Basically, we're dealing with people who have end-stage disease, whether it is the kidney, liver, and now in the post-COVID scenario, a lot of patients have end-stage lung disease, because of which the demand for lung transplants also has gone up, and obviously the heart. The relatively minor ones would include pancreas, intestinal transplants, uterus or hand or face, and of course, cornea for any corneal blindness is one common thing. But in the course of this presentation, we'll be focusing more on kidney, liver, and possibly some part of lung and heart also. So when you talk of transplants, where does the transplant organ come from? So basically you need a donor. So the donor would be a deceased donor, a donor who is brain dead or who has had cardiac death. So brain death donation is the universal, this is the universal majority of organ donation which happens. Cardiac death, I've mentioned it because quite close to you is Spain. So Spain is the pioneer in donation from cardiac death. And a lot of European countries are now moving towards donation after cardiac death. And the other option where you don't have an organ allocated to you is living donation. Basically, you have a live donor, a person who is hale and hearty, a person who is healthy and who is donating an organ to you out of some altruistic or some other concern. And living donation is possible mainly for kidney and liver. And here in India, the vast majority of our transplants are living donation transplants. So that was a brief background on what exactly we are talking about, what sort of transplants we are talking about. Now, I'm sitting here in hopefully it would be one of your favorite places in the world, in Assam. And here we're dealing with floods, and in floods, we are dealing with something called HFL. So HFL is the highest flood level. And in terms of transplants, in terms of liver transplant and others, we are somewhere at the trough. So in floods, we are at HFL, and in terms of transplants, we are right at the trough. We're right at the trough. We are at the bottom. So most of these developments in transplants have happened here in UK and in Europe. There have been some innovations in the US, but majority of the innovations on which we've relied on transplants have come out of UK colleges like King's College London, from University of Birmingham. These are some of the pioneers in liver transplants. And of course, the other centers in Europe, which have led the way forward. But most of their developments have been in the field of disease donation, wherein there is somebody there's a brain dead donor who's donating the organ, and then subsequently the transplant has taken place. Now, if you travel all the way there, the developments, as they've trickled down to India, somehow they landed up in Delhi and also in Chennai. So these are the pioneers of transplant in India, Delhi and Chennai. Unfortunately, even the other metros have not taken off that way ahead. And we've learned, whatever we've gathered is, we've been able to train ourselves in different centers in Delhi, and subsequently we've been able to transfer some of this knowledge and experience from Delhi onto Assam. The other trough. So why do I say that we are here at the trough? So another thing is the Far East. So Far East, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, they also are the leaders in transplant. And unfortunately, we are here just at the bottom, and then we need to see how far can we move ahead, how can we justify our services to our population, and what do we do? So that is the geographical background. So let me give you an idea about where you stand, where you are there in the UK. So in UK, I'll just go back. Yeah. So these are the number of transplants in the UK 2019-20. This is all deceased donors. So 3,760 transplants in 2019-20. Now, I would not go into the numbers, but if you compare the population of UK and the compare population of India, so India is a hugely populated country. And this number of deceased transplants would hardly be less than 1,000 in India in 1 year. So there's a stark difference in terms of the number of transplants arising out of deceased donors. However, in terms of living donors, the numbers are totally different. India is a world leader in living donor transplants. So this is the organ-specific transplant list for the UK, kidney, pancreas. So if you can see, there would be around, I'll get a zoomed in view. So we have around 2,400 kidney transplants happening. And this number is nothing comparable to what is done in India. It's a very huge number in India, but in India, most of it is living donor transplants. Similarly, for liver, you have somewhere around 900 to 1,000 transplants happening a year. And this number also is much more in India. And when we look at deceased donor transplants rates, so why am I focusing on this? Because this is one area wherein we can improve our transplant numbers significantly. We are nowhere in the picture in this slide. So in India, the transplants per million, this is transplants per million population, would be less than 1 for deceased donors. So compared to the denominator which we have, compared to the demographic dividend which we have, compared to the population which we have, our numbers of transplants are significantly very low. The absolute numbers are high, but our relative numbers are very low. And so despite facilities being available, we are not able to offer these services to people who need them the most. That's the message from this slide. So the similar things for kidney and for liver. In the interest of time, I'll move ahead to the next slide, and then we'll focus on Assam. So I gave you a perspective about the UK, I gave you a perspective about India, and now we come back to our native place, Assam, and this is from health data. This is a combined project from ICMR and another international organization. There's an NGO involved with this, but ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, is also involved in the compilation of these statistics. So if you see chronic kidney disease, which would lead on to go and require a kidney transplant, hepatitis, which would go on to require liver transplant, the two main organs which we are transplanting right now. So the proportion of life lost because of these diseases is quite high. But another interesting part of this slide is the proportion of lives lost due to stroke. So as you can see in Assam, stroke is a very big problem. Now, when we talk about transplants, when we talk about liver and kidney transplants, it is exactly these stroke patients. Unfortunately, it is, although it is a very sad event to happen, but a significant part of these stroke patients would go on to develop brain death, and they form a very good pool of potential donors for liver or kidney. However, we have not yet taken off in terms of organ donation, in terms of deceased organ donation, in terms of brain death certification. So stroke population would be an opportunity for us to manage our liver and kidney patients in a better way. So let us quantify the demand. So as you all know, in our region, alcohol, tobacco, these are huge. There's a huge problem with substance abuse in terms of alcohol and tobacco. Also, we are in a very unfortunate geographic location. We are very close to the famed Golden Triangle. There are certain populations in our region who are prone to develop hepatitis B and C due to certain genetic factors. And despite all government measures, our Honorable Kokraja DC ma'am had talked about government intervention in health, and the present Chief Minister has been focusing a lot on drug abuse, on catching contraband carrying trucks and contraband carrying vehicles. However, the proportion of patients with IVDU is intravenous drug use. So intravenous drug use is a very, very significant problem in our region as of now. I started my medical practice here in Assam in 2014. From 2014 to 2021, we have been seeing only an increasing trend in terms of IVDU and its complications in terms of hepatitis B and C. World over, with vaccination measures, with population education measures, hepatitis B and C is decreasing. But in our population, hepatitis B and C is increasing. And these are risk factors for liver disease. These are risk factors for kidney disease. Also, parallelly, we have a state and a country wherein we are in two worlds. A world which is suffering, a world which has malnutrition, and the other world which has overnutrition. So overnutrition is also a significant clinical problem, and this leads to fatty liver. Fatty liver itself has increased the disease load of patients with end stage and liver and kidney disease. So that's a clinical experience. Liver cirrhosis is increasing, and progressively we are seeing younger patients. So younger patients means they are more productive patients, patients who are in the productive age group who would have contributed to society unless they had fallen ill. And we need to get them back and going and start working again to contribute to society in the longer term. So how do we do that? To do that, we need to quantify whatever data we have. So if you look at Indian data, I showed you the UK data. So we don't have a proper transplant registry. And if you extrapolate Western data, we would be requiring around 20,000 liver transplants annually. And I'm just giving you a brief timeline with respect to liver transplant. It started in India in 1996, was not successful initially. A few efforts were made. One effort was made in 1998. But gradually from 2001 onwards, it started picking up. The initial 4-5 years, the results were not good. 2005 to 2008, most of the liver transplant programs in the country had started maturing. I entered the field of liver transplant in 2008. And since then, we've only been growing in terms of the numbers, in terms of the results here in India. And right now, as far as Indian data is concerned, we are comparable with any major country in the world in terms of liver transplants. And finally, here in Assam, we started liver transplants in 2019 at Downtown Hospital. So it was estimated in 2015 that there were around 7,500 liver transplants done at that point of time. And subsequently now in India, we are doing around 1,000 transplants. So out of this 1,000 transplants in Assam, we are hardly doing 1 or maybe 2 a year. So our numbers are very, very less. And that's the problem which we are facing in terms of not being able to provide the service to our population. So what's the current status of Assam? So this is the government statistics from NOTO, the National Organization for Transplant Related this Retrieval and other stuff. So if you see, this is Assam, all organs. So we have just 5 hospitals here. This is page 1. In page 2, there was just 1 hospital. I didn't include it here. So, and there's just 1 hospital for liver. That's Downtown Hospital where I work, and 3 hospitals for kidney. So the numbers are very, very less. Last year and the year before last, when COVID was around, we would be comparing our government, our chief minister would be comparing our results with Kerala, because the population and the area of Kerala is more or less similar to Assam. And if we use that correlation, we had been managing COVID very well. So if you look at Kerala, so Kerala has many centers. So here's 5. So if you look right at the bottom right of your screen, so there are 5 more pages. So you can just imagine how far ahead they are in terms of transplants. So the proportion of transplant centers in Kerala as compared to Assam would be maybe around 15-20 times more than what we have. So that's where we are right now. So if we want to develop transplants more, the way forward, so we would be requiring resources. So resources, I've just divided it into a service provider perspective, that is our perspective, what we face. So we need hospitals, machines, manpower, and obviously cash flow and credit lines. Out of this, the most important one, in my opinion, would be manpower. We have very few trained people who are able to deal with all the complexities of liver or maybe kidney transplant also. So kidney transplant, relatively, there are people available, but for liver, there's practically, there are very few people available. So how do we get rid of our manpower crisis? This we need to focus on. And obviously your inputs, your perspectives would be important. As a service provider, I feel hospitals, machines, they can be got. Money is usually not a problem for capital purposes, for capital investment. Money is not usually a problem. The cash flow and credit line, which I'm talking about, is mainly in terms of consumables. The cost of medicines are going up. And if you look at the transplant packages which are offered by all the hospitals here in India, the majority of the cost is because of the cost of medicines. So how do we deal with that? As a society, we need to think about it.
One
and
last
manpower,
minute, Pranjal. Sorry, Pranjal, one last minute.
Okay, sure. So from the patient perspective, they would be needing a donor and money, obviously. So off and on, we get a lot of these appeals on social media wherein people have required liver transplant, they ask for donations. And as a society, it doesn't look good when people appeal for that. We need to do something about it. So how do we deal with all these challenges? So some of the solutions which I found was the way forward. So would be more involvement of public hospitals, because they are able to deal with the capital expenditure more. Donation after declaration of brain death is practically not existent in our state as of now. And this needs to be taken up by the policymakers. We as stakeholders have to give our pressure, and pooling of resources wherever manpower is available. we can develop 1 or 2 centers of excellence, and easily we can improve our transplant numbers. And we need to put the message across that transplants are as important as cancer surgeries. Presently, the government is focusing a lot on cancer, which is good, but transplants also are equally important, and because they deal with people who would be go on to contribute further to society in terms of their occupation. So this was the model which I felt would be applicable for us, the core satellite model. This is being done in South India also, wherein you have a main center, and then the surgeons from those centers would be traveling to the peripheral centers and then doing complicated surgeries there. This is what we call the satellite model or the traveling surgeon model. Together with this, with COVID, we had a lot of telemedicine and tele-ICU, and this could be utilized to improve on our resources. And wherever we are lagging behind, we could use these modalities to improve our services. And obviously, what I talked about, cost cutting, which needs to be dealt with at a government level. How can we get ahead with cost cutting for medicines and consumables, which are the significant contribution to the increased cost? So finally, if I would conclude, transplant services are unlike any other routine medical services. It requires huge medical resources, and certain public policy interventions are required. Maybe in your personal capacity, you would develop some thought regarding this and then contribute to public pressure for the policymakers. And since it affects the productive age group, we need to deliberate very soon how fast can Assam move ahead in terms of offering transplant services to our deprived population. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I took more time, I guess. Yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Deka, for your rich presentation with so much of data. I learned a lot about organ transplants. We are running almost 9 minutes late. So now next presentation is by Mr. Siranjeev Borwa, who will tell us about the temple architecture of Assam. He works at SBI Mutual Fund, but he's a multi-talented guy. He's a singer, he's an author. So let us hear from him the temple architecture of Assam.
Thank you.
Pranjal, please hang around. We'll take questions for you later on.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
We already have few questions in the chat box, which we can take in the panel discussion.
We'll do that.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. Siranjeev, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, are you there? Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Yeah. Just give me a second. Is it visible?
Not yet. Yes, now it is. Yeah, now it is. Yeah, now it is. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank the entire team.
Chiranjeev, sorry, you have got 10 minutes from now.
Sure. Okay. First of all, I have to thank the entire team of Assam Forum of Great Britain for giving me the opportunity to present the paper today. My topic is temple architecture of Assam. So I would like to discuss the temple architecture of some of the prominent temples in Assam. So first of all, what is a temple? A temple is a place of worship of the Almighty or Supreme Being, which is who is worshipped in different forms. A Hindu temple is a house of God. The temple art and architecture is based on the foundation of the ancient Indian treatise that includes the following principles. Shilpa Shastra, that highlights the ancient aesthetics theory of art, like balance, symmetry, form, color, all those stuff. So it's very technical. The art and architecture that is applied in the temples is very technical. And secondly, the navarasas that are used in Naitya Shastra, in classical dances in Assam, in the entire country in India, like the Santarasa that symbolizes tranquility, Sringaras that is delight, Aisaras that is laughter, Karunaras that is sorrow, Rodraras that is anger, Viras that is heroism, Bhayanakras that is fear, Vivatsa that is disgust, and Adbhuta that is wonder. These rasas are expressed in the expressions of the human figures, the sculptures that are engraved on the temples. So this is basically the structure, a typical structure of a temple that we see. These are the different elements that are present in a temple. The first is Ardha Mandapa. Ardha Mandapa is the entrance hall, followed by the Mandapa, that is the pillared hall where the people, the devotees, they gather, they sit, they relax, they meditate, whether the rituals are practiced. Then there is the Garbhagriha. It is called the Sanctum Sanctorium. It is the womb of the temple where the main shrine, the main idol is worshipped here. Over the top of the Garbhagriha, we have the Shikhara, that is the shrine. Then we have the Amlaka. Amlaka symbolizes the gateway to heaven. Then the Kalasa. The Kalasa, it's a picture, it's like the pot that symbolizes abundance, that symbolizes the elixir of immortality, that is the Amrita. Then let us discuss the scientific reasons for temple architecture. Now, the Hinduism, that is Sanatan Dharma, is a very scientific religion. Every rituals are practiced, and the temples, the customs, the traditions are very scientific. There is logic behind that. So the idol that is placed in the Garbhagriha, it is placed here. It's because the maximum magnetic energy is filled there, which helps to clean the body, mind, and soul of the devotees, the person who go there to worship the idol. Secondly, the aerodynamic structure of the conical dome shape of the temples, it transmits positive energy, thus providing peace and tranquility. The sound of the council, that is a sankh, leads to the formation of scalar waves that creates a conscious morphogenic field and resonates Om, that is the most sacred mantra of Hinduism, that kills germs, kills rodents and insects, and keeps the insects at bay. It is even beneficial for the person who plays the council. It helps to straighten the lungs. The temple bell symbolizes wisdom of Saraswati. Saraswati, she is the goddess of wisdom in Hinduism, and its sound is beneficial to human body by awakening the Kundalini, the seven chakras, the healing centers in human body, thus activating the both hemispheres of the brain. The ancient temples were built based on the detailed guidelines from Vastu Shastra and Silpa Shastra, and that helps in strategical, and that helps to to construct the temples where the cosmic energy is maximum and it is abundant, so that the magnetic and electric fields are the strongest. Now let us discuss the temple sculptures of Assam. Sculptures is one of the ancient form of art that provides aesthetic fulfillment in observer's mind. The sculptures of divine and celestial deities engraved on the temple walls are derived from ancient treatises, myths, and legends. Sculptures carries religious significance that catalyzes devotees to connect to the Supreme and bring inner peace and prosperity. These sculptures are carved from the stones, from the rocks, and it's very difficult. It's a very difficult form of art, which our ancestors have mastered. Now, the evolution of temple sculptures. Since time immemorial, temple architecture started in Assam and rulers from various dynasties like the Varman, the Salastambha, the Palas, later the Ahoms, the Kots, during 4th to 12th centuries. They have emphasized for the development of art and architecture. Now, the external influences like the Aryan invasion, amalgamation of artistic styles with the Guptas, the early Palas, the Mongols, the cross-pollination with all the different cultures from the different empires, from the different kingdoms, it brought a different style, a distinctive changing style, a unique style. It brought a unique style of painting, art, and architecture to Assam. Now, application of different artistic style like the Nagara or the North Indian style can be seen from the Sikhara in the temples that symbolizes Mount Kailas. The Vedic influence in rathas or chariots, the sacrificial altar, style and shape of Garbhagriha, an influence of Tantricism from the Bengal school of art to sculptures of Brahmanical and Vaishnavism in Assam can be felt. Now the religious influence of temple architecture of Assam. Now the religion is the primary factor. It is the main factor behind temple architecture in Assam. Now the influence of Shaivism, that is the worshipper of Shiva, the various forms of Shiva, who was an important deity among the Aborigines and Aryanized people. They used to worship the Phalas symbol, the Yoni, the Nataraja Bhairava, and it dates back to the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the Indus Valley civilization. It was found there. Since the earliest time, the Phalas, the symbol of Yoni, the fertility the organ, it has been worshipped. Then the influence of Vaishnavism, that is the worshipper of Vishnu. That is the various incarnations of Vishnu can be found in numerous temple ruins in Assam. Influence of Shaktism, that is the fertility cult of worshipping Shakti, the mother goddess, and her incarnations can be found with the Aryan Aborigines, non-Aryan Aborigines, who were later absorbed by the Pala dynasty and Mahayana school of Buddhism. Influence of Tantricism was popularized by the Palas who ruled in Kamrupa, that made Kamrupa an important center for sacrifice, mysticism, sorcery, and occult. Influence of Buddhism in Kamrupa during Buddhist preacher Tritika's visit in 3rd century BC, and Highgrave Madhav temple was regarded as a major pilgrimage center for Buddhists. It's because they believed that Buddha died in this place. So it was a very holy place. Apart from the other schools that we have I have mentioned, there was a growth of indigenous schools. There is the local schools like the Kamrupa school, but it is highly debatable whether it existed or not because there was a shortage of references and evidences. But still, people believe that there existed a separate school of art called the Kamrupa school. According to the literary evidences, local art style called the Deopani among the ethnic affinity of the Boro community in Assam, it was characterized with a later phase of Gupta classical style, like limited jewelry, drooping eyelids, long ears, and broad foreheads. Now let us see the Kamakhya temple. It is one of the prominent religious centers for Shakti and Tantric worship, located over the Nilachal Parbat in Guwahati city, dedicated for the mother goddess Kamakhya. Originally, Salastamba dynasty during 8th and 9th century AD built this temple, but it was later rebuilt by the coast king Narnarayan under the supervision of Chilarai. Influence of Buddhism and Gupta artistic styles are reflected in Kamakhya from various sculptures and rock-cut images of Buddha. The sentiments of Raudraras in Bhairava images, Sringaras in female divinities, Apsaras in dancing poses, and Adbhutras in floral designs are reflected in the sculptures of Kamakhya temple. Now the sculptures are basically broadly divided into two categories. The one is flora and fauna. Flora is basically the floral patterns, the intricate, complicated geometrical patterns of flowers. Then the fauna are the animal forms like the lion, elephants, and all.
Last 1 minute, Siranjeev.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Then there are religious sculptures. Religious sculptures are basically the divine the sculptures of the divine divine entities, like the different incarnations of goddess, the different incarnations of Shiva, Vishnu, and all. Then we come to Deo Parbat temple, which is dedicated to Lord Shiva. It was built during 11th, 12th century by Ahom king Swargadeva, Swarganarayan, located on the Deo Parbat Hillock in Golaghat. Here the narrative scenes from Ramayana and Mahabharata are depicted. Apart from that, the different pantheons of Shiva are also found in abundance. The flora and fauna sculptures are shown here. The religious sculptures, the animals, the divine bodies. Then the Daparbatiya temple. It is dedicated to Lord Shiva and located at Tezpur in Assam. It was built during the Ahom era. The artistic sense of proportion, beautiful symmetry of figures and ornamental devices are the main thing that are explained, that are shown in this temple. These are the flora and fauna and the human figures. Then we come to Madan Kamdev temple. It's located in Baihata, Chariali, Assam. It's known as Khajuraho of Assam due to the erotic figures and similarity with the Khajuraho temple. The main idol worship here is in the Garbhagriha is the Uma, that is goddess Parvati, and Maheshwar, that is Shiva. These are the prominent sculptures. Then we come to Haigrif Madhav temple. It's the last temple. It is the prime center for Vaishnavism, located in Hazo, Assam. It was built during the Pala period. These are the flora and fauna. These are the divine figures shown on the temple walls. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiranjeev.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chiranjeev. Now we move to the next presentation, which will be delivered by Mr. Manjit Nath on impact of COVID-19 on India's unorganized workforce. He's a vice president marketplace at Adcast Asia Private Limited. Before that, I think it's a semi-government entity. Before that, he worked in a government entity, and he's a pass out from the Oxford University on Public Policy. By the way, he is an engineer as well. So over to you, Manjit, for your presentation.
And Chiranjeev, if we have any question, we'll take that during the panel discussion. You may close your presentation.
Can you see my, good afternoon, everyone from India. Can you see my presentation?
No.
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 Okay.
I think Chiranjeev needs to actually log out.
Okay.
Yeah, you just stop sharing. Chiranjeev, you stop sharing. Yeah, because your screens are still visible. Then it will allow, after that, it will allow Manjit to share his presentation.
Yeah, Manjit.
Yeah, Manjit, now you can start.
Yeah. Can you hear me and can you see the presentation?
Yes.
And your time starts now, Manjit. Thank you.
Thank you. Prathomte atailo namaskar. Assam Forum from Great Britain log bahut dhanyabad janaisu etu subidha to diar karone. Aru Rituparna Baidok specifically, she is full of energy always. So thank you for inviting. So I want to bring you from temple and gods to some human issues of the India's unorganized workforce.
Manjit, kindly do a slideshow of your presentation.
Yeah. Yes. Are the slides moving?
No, I think if you just put it on presentation mode, otherwise you can continue in view of time.
Yeah. Can you see now? Is it okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is how I am planning the next 8 to 10 minutes. Since this is a very vast topic, I want to make sure some terminologies and the scopes are clearly understood the way I am trying to convey. And then I will go into the topic, what is the exact situation in COVID-19 and what is the immediate impact before I explain some of the responses, mainly from the government of India. Then I will briefly touch upon the Assam context, the whole issue, how it impacted Assam. Yeah. So that's very briefly what I am going to do. Okay, so unorganized workforce is essentially related with the informal economy of India. Now, if you understand what is informal economy, so any economic activity carried out between a worker and an economic unit, which are in practice by law or without law, but there is no contract, there is no formal contract between the worker or the individual and the economic unit, that is informal economy. So if you think the agriculture sector, if you think the street food vendor, if you think the domestic help that comes to your house, this all falls under informal economy. And all unorganized workforce of India belong to informal economy. So there is a small difference between what is the informal sector and what is the informal employment. For example, construction sector, part of the tourism sector, agriculture sector, these are informal sector. But even in formal sector, there can be informal employment. For example, the gig economy, the Ola Uber driver, the delivery boys of Amazon or the Zomato and all in Indian ecosystem, they are informally employed to that particular employer. So this whole constitute of the whole unorganized workforce that I am trying to refer here. Now, question might come: why is it unorganized? There are 2-3 main reasons are there. Number one, the process of going from an unorganized to organized is via skilling. But in a huge country like India, having the skilling of the masses is very difficult. The proper infrastructure itself is not there. That's why many people live in an unorganized workforce space. Second, our government doesn't have a universal employment code. It's like universal basic income kind of a concept. It is a universal employment code. We do not have any. So this is one of the reasons. And the third reason I see is the recent rise of the gig economy. The gig economy in the recent 5 to 10 years, around 40 to 50% jobs created in unorganized sector all belong to the gig economy. So now to understand the scope, what the numbers say. So if you think the unorganized workforce is about 86% of Indian workforce, in 2018 it is around 81%. But if you include the informal employment as well, it is around 92%. Please mind, there are 50% of this is around the agriculture sector. The rest are basically the other sectors, which mainly you can divide between urban and the rural. And whether the contribution to economy is concerned, these unorganized sectors contribute around 50% to the economy, but this data is sometimes challenged by many economists. Now, with this basic background, I just want to draw your attention to what happened during COVID-19. So what we saw the displacement of people, we saw the deprivation, people falling into poverty, death of people. And who to blame? So this is a very big question and loaded question. Was the virus was to blame, or the lockdown, or was the recent decisions or the sudden way of taking decisions to be blamed? But not going into the nitty-gritties, let me also tell you some other factors which are contributing to this. So the whole nature of informal economy is such that the city workers, which are kind of the migratory in nature and lives in a very unlivable conditions, they are bound to lose their job because there is no formal contract. And because of the other issues that they have an emotional connect to their background in their villages, the different state governments were having some other schemes for them. So this was kind of evident. The nature of informal economy, the way city migrant workers were living, and that an emotional connect to the home ground. So these kind of other factors that contributed to what we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. So what is the immediate impact? Because we want to understand the impact, what it caused. And I want to present some data. Please bear with me. There are a lot of data here. So please bear with me for some time. Although this data, let me tell you, this data calculation is a bit complex. And the accuracy, you can always argue the accuracy. Okay. So on the migration front, as per the World Bank report, there are 40 million people kind of migrated from one state to the other state during this whole COVID-19, post-COVID-19 pandemic. So as per one report by International Labour Organization, around 400 million people which are only engaged in informal work environment fall into poverty. The GDP crashed by around 24.4% in the first in the first quarter of financial year 2020 to 21, when the first wave of COVID was at peak. The unemployment rose to around 23% as per the data by Center for Monitoring of Indian Economy, but then it recovered. Then it recovered to again went back to around 8%. The wage cut is very interesting one, because in informal sector the wage cut was about 22.6%, but while in formal sector it is only 3.6%. And let me not even mention the casualties that we have seen on the street, the horrific scenes. But one observation then came out on the impact. The impact was not as much high on the agri-based workforce. So the 50% of the unorganized workforce was basically okay. They're doing okay. The main impact was about the rest 50%, and out of them, the percentage who were sitting on the city areas, the more impact was felt on those people. So let me tell you the responses, how different entities responded to the situation. Yes, Government of India actually came out with different schemes to try to pacify the whole situation. The big ones are Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. These packages ensure the food, the cash, and the health benefit for the people, particularly who are engaged, who are below the poverty line, and also the people who have migrated. The second package, which was announced by our Honorable Finance Minister, is the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. This included a boost to the MSME, the medium and small and medium, micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. And also it brought out the scheme called GKRA, which is Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan. This GKRA scheme was specifically targeted for the migrant unorganized workforce to give them a source of livelihood. So with the learning of the whole scenario, Government of India came up with this brilliant concept of making a portal to cater and identify and track all the unorganized workforce. The portal is named eShram Portal. This is the national database of unorganized workforce. The portal as on today have seen around 27 crore registrations so far. So not only Government of India, the central ministries, even a government agencies like EPFO, Udyam, NSDC, these different organizations also came forward to help the people during the post-pandemic. Responses by Samaritans, yes, there are many citizens who really extended their heart out for this whole tragedy. The Bollywood actor Sonu Sood, and there are so many people, they have become Masiha just after this pandemic. Responses by the industry, I would still say it is very minimal, many, because they were busy saving their own houses. So in some industry actually provided the return of the migrants. They kind of book the tickets and all for the unorganized workforce so that they can come back and they kind of ensure the salary of the blocked months and all. So these responses were there, but I think for a long-term solution, the future reform suggestion I want to make 2 or 3 from public policy perspective. The number one, our journey from becoming informal sector economy to formal sector economy should start. And this has already started, but we kind of lack a definitive timeline. We need that. Second, I think MG Enrega, this whole pandemic showed the strength of MG Enrega, and the number of the enrollment under MG Enrega actually doubled. So what the proposal can be, there can be extension of MG Enrega, that is the number of days per year, it can be extended. And also there can be an urban avatar of MG Enrega for the city worker or the unorganized worker for the city. So one important statistic, a lot of women participate in this unorganized workforce. So if we have to think about the sustainability of unorganized workforce, women-centric policy must be there. And the better tracking and new legislation, the eShram portal is just one example that government has brought in. So these are reform suggestions not from India point of view, but from Assam point of view as well. So in my last slide, I want to give you some context of Assam, how Assam kind of dealt in case of unorganized workforce. So if you see the vulnerability metric, so there is something called COVID vulnerability tracker. And in that metric, Assam was put in a low category. So Assam was not very vulnerable for this COVID. So the percentage of people who were partially or fully in a closed zone was around 51% in case of Assam. But in some other states, it was like as high as 90%. So they were like more vulnerable. But in case of Assam, it was vulnerability was not so big. So on Assam's economy, the growth rate was lowered by around 1.3 to 5.2%. This is the medium rate. The unemployment, the Assam saw around 16 to 27% unemployment. But this was the case for entire India. And post June, July, I think from August onwards, 2020 August onwards, the unemployment rate actually starts showing some positive change. The migration was not so big in case of Assam. It was around estimated to be around 6 to 10 lakhs only, which is like huge problem for states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and all. But in Assam, there is some sectoral impact we have seen. For example, in agriculture, although the production was okay, but the distribution was really affected. For example, the banana cultivation, the tea cultivation, because of distribution problem, this kind of farmers suffered. So the last line is just for a data. So the e-Shram portal as on today has around 66.7 lakh participation from Assam unorganized workforce, and around the majority of them belong to agriculture sector as expected. And the second highest contributor is the domestic worker. The domestic help we see that has the second largest contribution of the unorganized workforce in case of e-Shram portal of Assam. So I want to stop here. This was just to give a brief background about the situation of unorganized workforce just post COVID-19. So I'd be happy to have any questions if you have.
Thank you, Manjit, for keeping an excellent time. So we will have the panel discussion, and I think your questions will be discussed in the panel discussion. So next we move to the next present. Next is the presentation of Ms. Sukanya Saikia. So we are actually moving from unorganized sector to Antarctica. So recently she is the first Assamese lady, I guess, a young lady who has visited Antarctica. So we'll be hearing about her story from Antarctica. So over to you, Sukanya. She is a PhD student, by the way, of Water, Energy and Access at National University of Ireland, Galway. So over to you, Sukanya. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll just share my screen.
Yeah.
So Sukanya, your time starts in 30 seconds because you haven't put your PowerPoint presentation yet.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'll get right into it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk among such an elite group of people. Yeah, I can go on and on about this topic because it's very close to my heart. So keeping in mind about the time, I just want to start, as to why Antarctica and who are we. So being able to go to that part of the world, which is, perceived to be that remote and inaccessible and dangerous, and be one of the only 150 people from around 40 different countries around the world who represent a blend of NGOs, corporate leaders, government officials, researchers, students, scientists, sustainability leaders, and take part in this 2-week exclusive educational program. And above all, being led by the one and only polar explorer, Sir Robert Swan, who is the first person on Earth to go to both the poles, was an experience of utmost privilege. And I'm very, very privileged and honored to represent Assam at such a global stage. So why Antarctica? What exactly is happening in Antarctica? So right now, actually, because of the effects of climate change, Antarctica has lost, until 2018, it has lost around 2,700 gigatons of ice that has turned into water. And that has happened since 1992. And just to give you a perspective of that number, if an Olympic-sized swimming pool holds around 2,500 tons of water, so Antarctica is actually losing 3 times of it every single second. So that is very scary, and it is continuing to happen. And Antarctic ice is different from Arctic ice because Antarctic ice is ice on land. So melting of that ice would actually lead to rise in sea level, unlike the floating sea ice in Arctic. So if we look into a bit more detail about the Antarctic ice sheet, this is a cross section from west to east of Antarctic ice sheet, and this on the figure on the right actually shows the Antarctic ice sheet on the western side. So as you can see that the ice sheet is already below sea level. So with the rise in, with the change in climate and the oceans getting warmer, the ice is melting at a much faster rate. And out of all this glaciers and ice sheet in the western part of Antarctica, there is one particular one called the Doomsday Glacier. And as the name suggests, it's not good news. So Doomsday Glacier actually is the original name is Thwaites Glacier. As you can see, it's already below sea level. And as the ocean is getting warmer, more and more ice is breaking away from the bedrock. And due to which this grounding point, which is the point connecting the glacier and the bedrock, is actually moving backwards, and it has already traveled 14 kilometers since 1992, contributing to 4% rise in sea level. Now, if the whole glacier collapses, it would be catastrophic. And this is not just the only glacier that is actually breaking. In the beginning of this year, we heard about the Larsen B ice shelf completely breaking off, and this is actually just 100 kilometers away from one of our landing sites. Apart from that, we had quite a number of interesting observations. So our expedition started on March 16th, and on March 18th, on the eastern part of Antarctica, this Concordia research station recorded temperatures of 40 degrees centigrade higher than average, which led to the collapse of the Glensakonga Glacier. Now, scientists have actually believed that eastern Antarctica is actually quite stable, and it would take centuries to see the visible impacts of climate change because the ice shelf there is above sea level. But we were proven wrong, because on March 21st, while we were there, this happened. And in addition, we saw very unusual rainfall events. So Antarctica is basically a cold desert. Some parts of Antarctica has not even received rainfall since the last 2 million years. But while we were there, we received a lot of rainfall, which was a matter of concern. And according to the climate leaders and the expedition leaders who have been there and observing the changes, they said that there has been a massive decline in sea ice. And sea ice is very crucial for the Antarctic ecosystem, especially seals. So seals actually prefer to rest in floating sea ice rather than on land. And the decline in sea ice would impact the population of seal. Now, we saw 4 different kinds of seals. This is a Weddell seal, and we actually saw a leopard seal attacking a penguin. It was like a live National Geographic video. We saw 3 different kinds of penguins. This is a gentoo penguin, and different kinds of seabirds and Antarctic birds. We saw 2 different kinds of whales, but the reason, there are actually more, but the reason why we saw such a limited number of variety of whale, and I'd get into it in the next slide, is obviously because of climate change. Now, climate change, this small organism is called krill. Okay, so krill is something that I learned about only after going to the expedition. So this is a crustacean, and all the wildlife in Antarctica is basically dependent on krill, and every wildlife eat krill there. But the thing is that because of climate change, it's affecting the availability of krill, and on top of that, we humans, as greedy as we are, we have gone overboard, and we have gone for fishing krill for the krill oil, for the supposed benefits that it has on our health. So we are not just satisfied with the omega-3 fatty acid capsules, we want more. So this has got a significant impact on the wildlife there, to a point that if there is no krill, there would be no life. So it might shrink by 80% by the end of this century. And that is why we are seeing penguin colonies are shrinking and whales are migrating further south. So we didn't see much variety of whales there. Now, it would be unfair if I do not take you to Antarctica through my eyes. So this is just an attempt through a photo story. I didn't have time to get put a movie into it. So this is just an attempt. Firstly, the expedition in itself, it's a mammoth of a task, financially, mental preparation, physical preparation, a lot of logistical preparation, and you put a raging pandemic on top of it, and that made our work 10 times harder. So we actually were asked to isolate ourselves way before the expedition even started. So each of the team members made so much sacrifice, and we didn't want to risk that. So we were actually very successful, because we were completely COVID-free, and through the entire expedition, being in a contained ship and with so many different nationalities, it was a challenge, but we did it, and that was a brilliant team effort. Team effort, we also cleaned, just in a matter of 2 hours, we cleaned around 350 kilos of ocean-bound waste in Ushuaia. It was action mode straight away. We also went for our physical training. We hiked glaciers in Ushuaia before going to Antarctica. Now, this is Team Inspire. We were called the Team Inspire, and this has the power to inspire the whole world. I was inspired by it, and this was just right before we embarked on our journey to Antarctica. So after 2 days of, grueling and stomach churning days of, going through the Drake Passage, which is one of the roughest seas in the world, we reached Antarctica. So the announcement in the intercom was that we have hit Antarctic waters. And personally, suddenly all the seasickness went away for me. And for the first time, we went outside to see this beautiful, magnificent landscape of Antarctica. And as you can see, a blizzard was going on at that time, and we were actually surrounded by a lot of whales during the time. So our focus was on the whales, and suddenly I was distracted by this movement of black and white things in the horizon. And when I zoomed in through the camera, I saw the first colony of penguins, which was quite an emotional, point. I got really emotional by this the first time I saw the penguins. So Antarctic weather is very unpredictable. One moment it's blizzard like this, and the next moment it would clear up, and then we would be greeted by this magnificent sunset. This was something that I regret the most from the expedition, is that because I missed this sunset, I was attending a lecture in the deck below, and this is the first time I'm regret not bunking a class. So it was beautiful, and this it never happened again. So Antarctica is definitely one of the most beautiful places on earth. This is the reason why I missed that sunset. So we were given exclusive access to a network that we wouldn't get normally access to. And it was a rich learning experience, learning from so many people. We also went to the Brown Station, which is the Argentinian research base. There is an interesting story to it. I would not get into it, but I'd encourage you guys to look into it. Then finally, we faced the dark history of the human influence in such a remote part of the world. We saw the boilers where humans used to boil millions of whales for oil and blubber before electricity was discovered. So this is in Deception Island. And we also saw bones of, whales, blue whales, and it was quite tragic and unsettling. So that is why it's very crucial to protect such a ecosystem, to preserve Antarctica. And there is a particular treaty called the Antarctic Treaty, which is in place that protects this ecosystem. So as of 2015, 54 nations have joined this treaty, and India is one of them. And this is just an overview of the treaty, the main points, but basically it says that there is no, Antarctica is just reserved for science, peace, and hope, and there shouldn't be any kind of military or radioactive or mineral nuclear activities or mineral explorations in and around Antarctica. But the caveat to this treaty is that it's open for negotiation in 2041. So in less than 20 years, all these nations would come together to basically decide the fate of this continent, and they might decide to continue this treaty or amend it or even delete this treaty altogether, and that would be catastrophic. And that is my purpose of putting this treaty on this presentation today, because not many people are aware of it, and it is very important to engage in this discussion, participate in this dialogue, so that when the time comes, we are able to voice our opinion. That's the treaty, and I hope I am on time. Thank you so much for listening. And if you want to know more, actually, I have talked exclusively about it in a podcast called Mughal Science Podcast, which is co-founded by me and my friend Swagata, who's also from Assam. She's a PhD scholar in Belgium. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sukanya. Right on time. Rituparna, are you there? Are you?
Okay,
sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I did unmute. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sukanya, for a very beautiful presentation. So I think before we go to the panel discussion, Professor Neera Borkakoti, she has an announcement to make. So just a 1-minute announcement. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen, and am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
You are, yeah.
I just want to say a few words about a potential new date that might be of interest to you. Looking at Sukanya's beautiful slides and her wonderful experience, I think this will be a good experience for you. The Shillong Chamber Choir, famous for its vocalists. As you all know, they won a talent competition and have sung before President Obama. They are being sponsored by the Assam Charity Trust, which is a sister trust of this association. Many of us attending today are members of this group, this charity. I'll put the link in the chat box if you want to know details of this particular function that's Birmingham on the 8th. Hopefully, subject to visas and all our chamber choir are able to come, you'll be able to join us for a musical evening with them. I'll put the details on the chat link if you want to look more. So that's all I have to say. I'll let you continue now, Diganta.
Yeah. Thank you, Nirabaidu. So, so over to me, really, and I have been asked to sort of organize the panel discussion and the timing of it, really. And so I think what I would do is I would invite all the speakers to come, and I see that Madam Bornali Dekaf has also joined us. Really nice that she has been able to join. So how I would do this panel discussion is that actually, first of all, we have a request from Tanushri Medhi. She wanted to say a few words about her organization in Assam. So I would let Tanushri go ahead, give her a minute or so, then I will invite the speakers on the panel, and I'll take things from there. It will be a moderated panel discussion. So that means that when you have a question to ask, please raise your hand or put your question in the chat box, and that there will be the questions for the speakers. And then we will have some free time for any other matters that you want to raise as part of the conference today. So that may relate to the topics that we have discussed today, but not necessarily. You can also pick up topics that close to you that you want to raise, and then perhaps that's something we can look at in a future conference, because we have this conference every year. So we might look at something around that. So do we have Tanushri Medhi who wanted to say a few words about her organization in Assam?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Tanushri, are you there? Is that
Okay.
you, Tanushri? I cannot see you, so I can only
Yes,
hear
yes.
your voice.
Okay. Am I visible now?
Yes. Tanushri, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. From here. I am speaking from a very remote area known as Pakabetbari block of Korpeta district, Assam. So I am currently working in an organization called Seven Sisters Development Assistance, SESTA. So we here are working in Northeast, currently working in 3 states. And in Assam, we are working in 25 blocks. So actually, we are working in the livelihood activities with the women MKs, Mahila Kisans, in convergence with ASRLM, Assam State Rural Livelihood Missions. So we are engaging in the grassroots development with concentrating on the women. So as we are already working, our ultimate goal is also sustainability, in alignment with today's topic of the webinar. So we are working here with in promoting livelihood activities, focusing on the sustainability of the livelihood activities of the people here in grassroots in the remote area with the different communities. So here I would like to actually address a very crucial cause or issue which we are facing, as you all already, every one of us actually are equipped with the thing that the issue that is the flood, which has struck this year very immensely. Like from past few years, we are affected by floods. Our regions are affected. Our grassroots economy is affected. But this year, like we have been supporting and we are working with like food support and stuff like that from the past years. But this year, like it has been devastated. The house, even the house of the people have been destroyed. So due to the flood. So I would like to, I wouldn't take much time as we are already about to end. So I would like to request and also address the forum if any kind of any kind of help or any kind of from your side, any kind of the forum can provide us with. So I would like to request the entire forum to look into the matter, and we have already shared our link of our, we have already shared in our chat box, and the social media post will also share it, and some videos we have created. So I will share it at the end. So thank you. This much from my side. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And I would also like to especially thank our moderator and the entire forum for giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you all. It's been great listening to everyone, and it's really a great experience for me. It's a great forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tanushree. So I have seen that you have put your contacts. Members can contact you later, right? And then you will put some information on the websites and things like that. Great. So what I would do is, just to kick off the panel discussion, I want to ask all the speakers just to point out, you have seen what other speakers have talked about, and obviously your topic is close to you, close to your heart. Can you identify any topic that you have not mentioned but other speakers might have, and you think it's important for sustainability and the future of Assam, bringing to the topic of the conference? So don't mention your own topic. Is there something that we have seen today or heard today that you think could be important for future of Assam and sustainability? Just one word or one sentence.
I think tourism, because Sukanya gave an excellent presentation on Antarctica. So although personally I would not encourage tourism in Antarctica, but similar form of nature tourism or off the trail tourism in Assam would definitely be something which we all would look forward to.
Thank you, Pranjal.
One is skill development of the youth in Assam. I think this is one of the major area, skill development.
Skill development. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Manjit. I think it was Manjit, right?
Yeah, it was Manjit. And there is another question from Manjit, actually means Bora. He just logged out from this webinar. He asked, he actually messaged me to ask the questions. It was for Gautam Barua sir.
We'll come to that. Rituparna, we'll take questions. So I'm just going one word or one sentence
no worries,
to all the speakers. So who would like to go next?
Yeah, so namaskar, and I think it's still morning there. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. I really enjoyed all the presentations, and two takeaways I would say. One is from Sukanya's presentation is on sustainability itself. The kind of photograph she showed, the way humankind has been using up resources, we have to ensure intergenerational equity. And the second, the presentation that on temples. So the traditional way of life, promotion of a traditional way of life, learning from our heritage.
Excellent, thank you.
What we're doing is gathering topics for next year's forum. Thank you.
Who would like to go next?
I think I would just add that I really like Varnali ma'am's presentation about the working in the grassroots level. I was not aware of so many schemes that was going on. That was very informative for me. And I believe that, just like she said, working in grassroots level and also, connecting to the to our own traditional ways, because I believe that Indian way was the most sustainable until we became very Western. I think we should stick to our traditional ways, and keeping in mind that our local actions actually affect global phenomena. So yeah, so act locally, think globally is the way forward. So I think that's it for my end.
Excellent. Thank you, Sukoina, but it took too many words and too many sentences. That was not allowed initially.
Sorry. Sorry for that.
Okay, no problem. Who'd like to go next?
Yeah, for me, the talk on COVID-19 and its impact was very informative, and I think it tells us how our society has to look at ourselves. So the devastation and the consequences have been much more than what Manjeet has talked about.
Yes. So Professor Borua, are you saying that because you mentioned earlier that you have mild COVID symptoms today? Or is it, or were you really motivated by the speaker's presentation?
No, I was.
Okay, okay. Excellent. Is there any speakers left today?
I think we should work for preservation of the rich cultural heritage that we have. We should study the Vedas, the Upanishads, the scientific. We should work for the further research. We should research whatever the resources that we have. That the great Indian civilization is very great, and we should not forget that the new generation should come forward. They should work for the preservation as well as the study of our ancient heritage. Thank you.
Excellent point, Chiranjeev. Thank you. So what we'd like to do is there have been quite a few questions on the chat. And for some reason on my laptop, I cannot see them very well.
Would you like me to read it out?
That would be really good. If you can see the questions better.
So I think the first question, one of the top, was for Professor Borua. So basically, after developing IT electronics hardware solutions for the last 13 years, I moved back to Guwahati and started a small tech solutions firm along with few other people. We are finding it quite challenging to obtain good talent at a cost that we can afford. Obviously, IIIT and IIT seem out of our reach. This is an emerging problem, and new local firms formed by returning IT professionals will face this problem. And students, even if they have the Ahomya sentiment, have personal goals, and it's understandable. Do you think that good students can be motivated to work in Assam somehow? I think it's for.
Well, actually, I give a very short answer to this. I mean, it's the market forces that determine what the students will do, and the rate of the expectation of compensation is based on the all India market. And so I don't think we can talk about activist sentiments. Yes, somebody who is going to stay in Guwahati maybe has his own house, will take a lesser salary, and it may work out. But other than that, I don't think you can expect to pay less because you're going to come to Guwahati and not to say Bhubaneswar.
Thank you. Digado, would you like me to take the next one?
Yes, please go ahead. If there's any comment for the speakers, we can read them out as well.
Okay. So I think the next one is for Dr. Gogoi. Is the center considering a natural capital accounting approach for evaluating economic potential of biodiversity and a sustainable regulatory safeguard to avoid overexploitation? If Dr. Gogoi is there.
Or maybe Dr. Datta can take that question, whoever can take that question.
If shall we give them a little bit of time and then we can take the next question?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think the next question is for Dr. Dekar. How can Assam ensure that hundreds of patients who are regularly treated with dialysis program as a money-making venture for the vast majority, instead of some of them offered a kidney transplant in a good center. I think it's from Bhupenda.
Yeah.
If you're there, would you? Yes.
Yeah.
There's a question for you.
Hello, Sharma sir. So I got your question, and first disclosure, I'm not involved in kidneys, so I deal mainly with livers. The other thing is dialysis itself. We have a national program for promotion of dialysis in the public sector promoted by the government of India and also supported very well by the government of Assam. So dialysis is here to stay, and the reason being not all patients undergoing dialysis have the resources or the opportunity to undergo a kidney transplant. So if we focus on brain dead organ donation, if we focus on better availability of organs, probably the pool of patients moving out from regular dialysis to undergoing a kidney transplant would definitely increase. And until then, I believe dialysis is here to stay, whether we like it or whether we don't like it. We have to accept the fact that for end-stage kidney disease patients, they would be managed with regular dialysis.
Thank you. I don't see any more here. So if anyone.
Can I just comment on this organ donation thing? I had a question about it. If I have your permission, Digorto, can I just ask?
Please go ahead.
I was just saying that the lack of, in-person donations and all the things that you were saying, I think, is it not one of the things to do is to publicize organ donation like they do in the West? Like they say, leave your organ in your will to people. Isn't that the lack of organ donations a reason for the lack of transplantations as well?
Yes, ma'am. So that's a pertinent question. The government has been working on it, although I'll accept that it's very slow. So what has been done at a national scale is when you're giving driving licenses, you have the option of opting in for consenting for a donor retrieval. So you have two systems, opt in and opt out. Many countries in the West, they are using the opt out, wherein there's implied consent that you can retrieve your organs. That means somebody else can retrieve your organs. And in India, we have this opt in system. So that's at some level that is there. Second, India has been trying to promote organ donation, but there are some complexities in the law, which means that when you declare a person brain dead, so the purpose of declaration of brain death by itself leads on to the natural next process of organ donation. So what happens is if there's a brain death declaration and then the consent for organ donation does not come, then the next question is whether you continue to keep that person as a brain dead person, whether you continue to maintain the artificial life-saving systems or not. Because then the next question comes, if you're keeping that person on a ventilator, who will bear the cost? So these complexities, because of these complexities, organ donation has not taken off that much, but I think we should be able to move ahead as Telangana has shown, Tamil Nadu has shown, and hopefully Assam will do the same thing in a few years from now.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
I think we have got another question for GB sir on the chat. It's good to see new engineering colleges in Assam. How are we prepared to compete with the other states' engineering colleges, both for teachers and students' perspective, as we are focusing on infrastructure as well as for engineering? I think, yes, this might be added to the list of the next years. That's what it's saying. So
perhaps Professor Borua can comment briefly, yes, on that point. How to compete with other states?
Well, I rather than directly answer that, let me put it another way. See, today these engineering colleges that are coming up in Assam, government ones, they are basically the government has to set up the infrastructure, and it is the risk is less because the academics is done by the university. The exams are set by the university, the correction is done by the university. The finances are maintained by the government. So even if the faculty are not so good, even if the principal doesn't have powers, the students, if they are good, they will do well in the exam and they will go through. So in that sense, it is a slightly less risky venture because it's all centralized. If you have autonomy, then it's a much more difficult way to start an institution with autonomy, with good faculty, everything. So having said that, I know it's difficult to say whether how to compete. We are very late. There are so many colleges elsewhere, they are already closing down. And the new education policy, very briefly, new education policy is talking about converting all these institutions to take them away from affiliation, number one. Number two, to make them all multidisciplinary universities. Now that's going to change the whole landscape in the next 10 to 15 years. We don't know what that is going to do to engineering education.
May I ask one question?
You have to give yourself permission.
Yes, exactly. So I have to ask basically everybody. So my question was actually to Bornali Deka, where and I was listening to her talk originally, and I'm seeing it from an administrator's, senior administrator, passionately describing kind of problems we could look at. And you also mentioned projects with Boroland universities, I think, but given an international forum where UK, let's say we have got a number of academics, can you comment whether administrations, I know universities, they often look for collaborations, how open or is there any thoughts in that regard in terms of working with academics internationally?
Thank you. You mean government of Assam or administration in Assam collaborating with academia, say in the UK, right?
Correct.
Yes, yes. So, yes, today, at least at the government of India level, at the DOPT level, we do have a number of tie-ups with academia. For instance, Dukes is there. There is a program which links up with Dukes. Harvard is there. Some of our initiatives are in fact being taken up for teaching in Harvard. So in Assam, I would say that I'm not really aware at the macro level of the government of Assam's long-term plans. But if something like this is done, if we could collaborate with the academia, it would be of, that is my personal opinion, it would be really, really useful to all of us. See, here we have such a huge network. We have a network of farmer producer organizations. We have a network of women SHGs. We in Kokrajhar itself, with a population of 9 lakhs, we have 10,000 women SHGs. So if academia could put in research into, say, what are the preferences, what are the broad trends, and if we could give some kind of self-sustaining employability measures, so that would be a very beneficial thing for the state. For Assam, it could lead to, the GDP of the state could grow up, it could multiply manifold. So there are so many areas of collaboration, and to my mind personally, this collaboration is key. Collaboration with the business sector, with academia, and with all the public sector and the public servants.
Yes.
Was that audible?
Yes, it was. Thank you. That's right. Yes. Yes. So there are some mechanism perhaps, and how often, we know from the academia, sometimes we have sort of imposed by the organizations here, what kind of funding we look for, what kind of mechanisms, but we could probably explore that sometimes and see what's possible. But it's good to hear that these kind of things are happening and it's possible as well.
In fact, it would be my request to this, August Forum of Diaspora. Some of the most brilliant minds of Assam are there in the Great Britain Forum. It would be my request that, any kind of, services or ideas that you could think of, I am always open. We are all always open, and we would love to take it forward.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Lipika, is there any questions on the chat, or somebody wants to ask any question to the speakers? Yes, Nira Baido.
Unless somebody else wants to ask something. I did have a question for Shukran now. The krill, are they only available in the Antarctica, or are they available elsewhere?
So no, actually krill is very unique to the Antarctic ecosystem. And so Antarctica basically started, it was near the equator to begin with. And then with continental drift and other tectonic plate movements, Antarctica is where it is right now. So because of that, it is completely cut off from the entire world and it is surrounded by ocean. And that leads to a polar current, which is the reason behind, such unique wildlife and unique.
My simplistic idea was that, if we could grow krill somewhere else, then we could replenish the stocks. Then clearly you can't. There's something special about the polar waters that gives krill them.
Yeah, so there's this circumpolar current which is responsible for that unique ecosystem there. And krill, everyone is dependent on krill.
Will they thrive on other plankton? Will the species not eat any other kind of plankton?
So there you just find other species, as in the penguin and other seals you're asking?
Yeah.
So
will they not eat any other crustacean other than krill?
No, actually they are solely like krill has their biomass is very high. So the source that the nutrient concentration that they have is much more. The answer is no, basically,
We have a question from Abhishek here with regards to Assam. Is Assam really moving towards net zero, and especially in the case of, I think, construction? I am not sure if we have got anyone who could take this question. Or yes, his suggestion is to add it to next year's webinar, and I think we would gladly do that. We have got Bhupenda raising his hand, if I can see. Did you? And then I can come to the next question from Gautam.
I think Bhupenda is muted.
Bhupen.
Muted now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So firstly, from my side, I enjoyed the conference tremendously, and hats off to the organizers to have got so many people involved, and the majority have stuck to time. So well done. Secondly, we have talked about issues regarding floods. We have talked about issues regarding health. Somebody like myself, since 1973, who had been to 39 times to Assam, I have seen the sort of development of the state, but the basic fundamental principles continues unchallenged. One is deforestation, one is pollution and sort of sanitation. Third one is a public education. And the fourth one is a quality of healthcare. And sort of tourism has been mentioned. And I'm sure that for the tourism, it will be leading to health tourism. But as a medic or a senior medic, I don't think that the quality of healthcare in Assam is up to the scratch. So the government policies are such that it is below par at the moment. Now, all of us who are living in a foreign land, we go to home, some of us, we're very, very passionate to visit Assam. We all worry about our health. And I think that quality control needs to be important. And the other thing, I don't know why in Assam it's lacking, is the solar energy. Now we have got so much of sunshine, and it is really lacking. And every year I go, I keep asking around, isn't there enough brains or enough engineers in Assam to actually create and educate the public for solar energy, which will be absolutely brilliant, I think. I shan't say too many things in case I get criticized very vividly, but those are my thoughts.
No, thank you, Bhupenda, because at some point of time, I was going to open the panel discussion to anyone bringing up any other points, any other discussion. So that was excellent. And I'll take that as the starting point. Yes.
There's another question, if I may.
Okay.
It's from
Siddhartha, I will come to you in a moment. Next.
Okay. So he is asking, what is the influence of ancient temple architecture on the construction of new temples? Whether private or public, if Chiranjeev is around.
Chiranjeev is muted.
Chiranjeev, I think, is muted.
Hello.
Chiranjeev, can you take that question?
Yeah, can you please repeat the question? Actually, it's not audible Sound is low.
Yes, okay. Can you hear me? So it's basically, what is the influence of ancient temple architecture on the construction of new temples?
Okay, thank you for the question. Um, the ancient style of architecture, it has influence in the construction of the new temples that are coming up um, with the new technology and the new materials for the construction of the temples. Uh, it's like the amalgamation of the ancient style, like the Vastu Shastra, the Silpa Shastra, all those the techniques. They have added those styles along with the new ideas of creativity. So it's basically a mixture of both of things. It's a base of both the worlds.
Great. Thank you, Chiranjeev, for that. So I will come next to, I think, Siddhartha. Siddhartha, please go ahead.
Mon naam Dilmoni Sikdar. Yes, so Siddhartha William. Firstly, it was so nice for Bhupendra Sharma to raise the question of renewable energy. And I think he has pointed very well there.
Mute হৈ গৈছে সিগদাৰ আপুনি মিউট হৈছে Lipika, can you unmute?
No, I can only request.
Okay, it's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
You can hear me now. Yeah. Did you hear the first part of my question? It was about renewable energy, and the important point Bhupendra Sharma has raised is about the solar energy. The only point is that these solar panels are quite expensive, and they're mostly manufactured in Western countries. And it's sometimes beyond the budget of developing countries, Africa, for instance, or Asia, for instance, to buy these solar panels. Okay. Now I come to my own topical issue. It's about, while we are sitting here in the comfort of our own house and comfort of our own cars even, yeah, or maybe comfort of our own lounge, people of Assam, indigenous people of Assam, is suffering. They're suffering because of the unprecedented floods in Assam, which I understand has not happened for last nearly 100 years. Now, I know there are some global factors like global warming, and then of course you have got this glacial melting in the Himalayas, you know. Now, these are global factors. It's a global responsibility. But what about our local responsibility of people living in Assam, of the citizens living in Guwahati? Why Guwahati? Why Zoo Road, which was once a, very posh road with beautiful shops and something to be proud of, has suddenly been named Zoo River? Why does it happen? Why did it happen? No, the point is that as you probably know, or I don't know how many people, how many of you, particularly in Guwahati, are aware of the fact that recently we have got a Bhorodo project rather, and the Bhorodo River, I don't know, my generation, I'm talking in terms of my generation, were once a pride, passion, and joy of Guwahati.
Thank you,
yes,
Siddhartha.
It was. Now it has become a Nala of Guwahati.
Siddhartha, I'll have to move on to someone else. Sorry.
I think I just want to interrupt. I think the Torunda is waiting to ask a question. So I have been
briefly.
yeah.
Briefly, please.
Okay. So
go ahead.
So I've got to mute myself, right? Hang on. Yeah, you can speak now.
Torunda, briefly.
Speak.
Hi. First of all, many congratulations to all of you who have done extremely good job. But I have completely a different questions altogether. I'm very impressed by our CM's message, where he has said he is open to suggestions from Assamese diaspora abroad, mainly AFGB, which I belong to it, and I think we are doing good job. Now the issue is, if CM is open to suggestions, I would like to say, Right Honorable CM, and his open-heartedness, he is a highly intellectual person, but he needs a lot of help. So we are quite prepared to help him. Now, Assam's main issue is the growth. Without growth, nothing can happen. So that growth comes from preventive devastating flood, one. Number two, immediately declare Rupsi Airport international cargo linking up to Southeast Asia. That will bring growth. These two growth, if Assam can achieve, Assam will feed 20 in other 20 states of India. And I'm proud of being an Assamese from that point of view. Sorry if I have taken some longer time. Again, many thanks to all of you. You have done extremely good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dada. I know Torunda wanted this conference in person in Loughborough, which is not very far from Leicester. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
But thank you for your comment and your thoughts. So
shall I give a brief comment? Actually, Bhupenda has raised about renewable energy. Maybe renewable energy, mainly the solar energy, has not been coming up in Assam. But India has the largest solar power park. It is the Wadla Solar Power Park, and there are 38 solar power parks in different geographical locations of India. So India is working on solar power. So maybe and it is actually working on means collaborating with the United Kingdom. So if you see the COP26 report, you will get to know how India is working with the the other countries of the world through One Grid One initiative, one grid one green initiative. I think the name of the project is. So you may have perhaps look at that. So you'll get some.
So when this situation will materialize, how long will it take? Because everything happens so slowly as far as things in India is concerned. I'm talking about solar panels. You said India is having collaboration with United Kingdom, is it?
Yes, one green, one grid, one sun initiative, I think. It's a green initiative. It's known as green initiative. See how long it will take, I'm not sure, but the things are moving forward. I'm just saying it's in the positive direction. India is a coal dependent country. So about 50% of its employees are coal dependent. So how will they make some transitional changes? So these are long-term, tasks to be dealt with. And India didn't sign this net zero pledge for 2050. It has gone, Narendra Modi has signed it to attain net zero by 2070. So all these points have to be taken into consideration. So I'm just giving you a point, which I was going through the COP26 report. So that is my I'm just giving a feedback on your question.
One of the challenges in Assam is the relative lack of land and the high density of population.
Can I add to that?
Yes, please go ahead briefly.
Yeah, okay. So no, just the situation here in Assam, and I'm also part of the government of India's net zero initiative. with IIT Madras. So in Assam, of course, across the country, the issue is not so much of production, but storage. If we can reduce our solar storage costs, then it will become a feasible option. As of now, storage is a major problem, which the previous speaker was also talking about, that we have an issue of light. That is one. And secondly, government of Assam has already taken up a number of initiatives. Our APDCL, the power distribution company, what it does is that it clubs a number of offices and it is subsidizing a part of the storage cost. So in Assam also, a lot of work is happening.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a very good point.
Thank
So,
you.
There is one small question for Varnali ma'am. Would you like me to go ahead, or do you want to end the?
Lipika, please ask the question. And
yes, so yes, the question is basically with the digitalization that has been mentioned by Varnali ma'am. So basically, the question is, are you taking a feedback from end users, and how is that feedback, is being used to improve the system? This is from Utpal Bora.
Okay, so I want to talk of one program of the Government of India, the Aspirational District Program. You can check it out. I've already mentioned in my PPT. And the feedback is taken at two levels. One is from the end users, the various, the user groups, and the groups of beneficiaries. And the second feedback is through third-party surveys. We are using Piramal Foundation, we are using Gates Foundation, and some of these third-party initiatives which are completely independent of the government, and taking their feedback on how well these initiatives are working. I'm just keeping it short.
yes, I just wanted to clarify something because we had a little issue while you were not here. Because your video recording and a PowerPoint presentation, they could not be simultaneously shown at the same time. So we have shown your video and we decided that we'll share the PowerPoint presentation later on to the participants. So what I would like to do, I see two hands raised, one from Manjira Baido. Manjira Baido, do you want to say something briefly? Then I would like to close the panel discussion and then we can go to the next item in the agenda.
I believe they are legacy hands.
Thank you. Thank you, Digonto. I don't know whether it will go here or not, but while talking about sustainability, I was also thinking from a different spin. By the way, it was a great discussion. I didn't think I'll stay for that long. I was in and out, you could see. Sustainability, I am talking from a different point of view. That's sustaining our language, literacy, and culture. That also comes under sustainability, doesn't it? So now it seems that, language, literacy, and culture has been all mixed up in Assam. But anyway, I am talking from a different point of view. We have got our annual meet in 2 weeks' time, and people who are local, I would like you to attend and encourage. I know you're always there for us, Lipika and Digonto and Bhupen and all. It is for the bigger community. We're not doing it for ourselves. We are doing it for our next generation, the generation after. So this is also very important that we preserve and promote our language, literacy, and culture. So I'd like to invite you all. I think most of the people from the panel are from Assam. But people who are here, please support us. Only because of your support, we have survived for 24 years, and we'd like to survive for some more years. That's what I wanted to say. And we'll see you on 9th of July. I have sent all the messages, but if anybody doesn't know, just let me know. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, just to clarify, so Manjira Baido, she's involved with Assam Sahitya Sabha UK chapter. So she's inviting everybody to go to the next event.
Which is scheduled on 9th of July.
Yes,
and yes,
and it
and
is
we are very used to receiving invitation from Manjira Baido in any event that we have. So yes. And every invitation is welcome, and then we know we'll get a great food Ohomia khwa when you go there.
Yes.
So I think if there is no question from anyone, I would like to close the panel discussion, and then Monita can take over.
Yeah, I have actually just before the Monica delivers her vote of thanks, I have actually in the chat box, I have given the UK COP26 report. So if you want, if anybody is interested, please go ahead with the report.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Rituparna. So I think on that note, I would like to close the panel discussion and would move to Monita for the vote of thanks. Monita, over to you.
Thank you very much. I think first of all, thank you AFGB for giving me the opportunity to offer the vote of thanks, and indeed it's a great honor for me. I really, on behalf of AFGB, would like to express a sincere appreciation and thanks to our Honorable Chief Minister, Dr. Himanta Biswa Sharma, for inaugurating the conference and for sending us a wonderful message. And it's really a matter of pride to know that Assam is coming to the forefront in terms of with the rest of the world in terms of connectivity and communication, sustainable development in the health sector, and sync with the ecosystem and under his able leadership. So it's a very nice message that has been conveyed to us. In this context, I would be very much grateful to Mr. Kuntal Bordoloi, OSD to the Chief Minister, for taking the effort to get this recording from him. We would also, on behalf of AFGB, like to offer our thanks to Padma Shri Jadev Malloy Payeng Sir for sending such a wonderful message about his journey. And really, this is an inspiration to us for contributing to the environment and giving back to society. Also, our appreciation and thanks to Dr. Pranjit Sharma, Professor Mangalore College, and Jade Payeng's daughter, Mumuni Payeng, for getting us through this video recorded message. And this was really enlightening. We will also have for our sincere and heartfelt thanks to our distinguished speakers for such enlightening and insightful presentation. I think everybody would agree with me that we are taking back with us so many, I think a lot of learning and education knowledge, and starting from our Assam government interventions to sustainable development goals in the grassroots level to evaluation of the technical education, bio-based renewable resources, to learning about organ transplants. Really, I didn't personally know so much of happening about organ transplantation, including the design in temple architecture. It's something which is new for me, that each sculptures had something, scientific meaning, impact of COVID-19 on India's unauthorized workforce, as well as Ukraine's journey in the Antarctic expedition. I think that was all wonderful, and I think we all are taking a lot of us with us. And I think it's also really we appreciate their effort and the time they have, taken to share their wisdom and insights to us. The topics definitely complement most of the current highlights of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and about the current crisis and how we can give back to society. And we would also like to offer our sincere thanks to Dr. Diganta Bhushan Das and for moderating the panel discussion, and also serving as a timer so well. The open panel discussion was also very enlightening. I think a lot of inputs were there. And our sincere thanks to Dr. Lipika Deka for setting up the technical arrangements, taking up the questions, and for making this virtual conference. Without these technicalities, it's very difficult. And really thank you, Dr. Lipika Deka. Also thanks to our little Neor, a small child who was assisting, I think, in this arrangements, right? It's wonderful to know that even the small hands are behind this. For the appreciation and thanks to Dr. Neera Borkotigi Baidu, our president, AFGB, for her wonderful welcome speech, and also letting us know about the chronology of events that have been taking place with the AFGB. And being a new member, I'm really was happy to know about these. And thanks to Dr. Ritupana Bhattacharjee for the introduction and being chair of this wonderful webinar. And I also would like to thank special thanks to Dr. Meera Baido, then Rituparna, Digonto, for all the planning, for coordinating this webinar, from planning, preparations to inviting, and all to make it happen. Also, our special thanks to our founder president, Professor Jitendralal Kakati sir, for his valuable advice to the team at every step. And I hope I have not left anyone. Final thanks to all our participants and attendees, without whom this conference could not have been a success. And yes, with this, I think I would like to conclude my vote of thanks, and I can, I think, bring an end to the event now. Thank you very much, everyone.
And
thank you, Monita. Yeah,
Monita,
thank you,
yeah. Monita, for a lovely vote of thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. We end the meeting now.
Thank you.
The recording will be available in our website. Yeah. The recording will be available in our
website. Yeah, and we'll try to. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you on 9th of July then. Thank you.
AFGB team, please hang around for a bit. Dance আৰম্ভ কৰি দিয়া নাই মিউজিকটোত এতিয়ালৈকে, that is what is surprising me.
বঢ়িয়া মিউজিক দিছা লিপিকা, বঢ়িয়া মিউজিক দিছা।
দিগন্ত আৰম্ভ কৰি দিয়া।
Has the recording been stopped?
হেৰি কি কয় এইটো, বঢ়িয়া হ'ল লিপিকা, দিগন্ত বঢ়িয়া হৈছে। আৰু thank you, Nior. You helped us a lot.
Where is he?
I think we can stop the recording now.